I just don't like that there's like, now for some reason male characters are bumbling idiots more often than not. And like, it wasn't, the thing is, the big part, it wasn't Wanda wasn't doing that to anybody. It wasn't the main characters that did it. It was this side character that I feel railroaded the whole show.
Yeah, I have no problem with him being a bumbling idiot, though. Like, I have no problem with that, because that happens in all shows. Like, every show on major network television has that guy.
And, like, male shows, maybe they have, like, the comedic relief, but even then, I never do like it. I think it's like, well, that's the guy that has to be the fall guy every time. Like, again, the FBI agent, like, why was he just a moron? He wasn't a moron. Like, he's an FBI agent.
Wait, are you talking about the guy who ran S.W.O.R.D., or are you talking about Jimmy Woo?
No, Jimmy Woo or whatever.
Yeah, but he's always kind of been a dummy. I mean, again, he doesn't need to be, but
cast, but then don't make him a fucking FBI agent. Make him
something else.
A lackey or something. I don't know. And then again, the big guy, all he would do is tell Monica, "You should have had this job. You should have had this job. I suck. I suck." It's like, you're the guy though. You wouldn't talk like that. And then he's the one that made mistakes.
Yeah, you're talking about the main dude who brings her in the very first time. Like, what was his name?
He makes sure that he explains to her that he sucks, and if she was around, she would have got the job. She's way better at it than him, and I don't deserve it, and you should be doing this. Turns out he's a bad guy, but he wasn't really a bad guy. He was doing exactly what he should have done for the government.
Yeah, he's a little supplicant in the beginning.
That. She's a threat, you know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, like, I think you're just reading too much into bubblegum. Like, I think at some point, like, you're gonna get shit TV, and this just happens to be one of those cases where there's a lot of shit.
All that stuff could have been just ignored. They didn't need to write it in. The Wanda storyline was great. It was an internal struggle for her. They could have just been like the crazy observe and report and try to get through. But
I could see that.
But you know, and it's like he can still play the guy, but he's not a villain. And they arrested him. Why'd they arrest him? He was doing his job.
That's an issue too. He is just doing what the government sent him to do.
Yeah, and then so he decides he's going to get away like a getaway villain and hop in a vehicle and speed out of there. And it's like, my bullets didn't work. I better run. Like, it was like a Scooby-Doo villain.
At the end, it does de-evolve.
The astrophysicist crashes into his truck with a delivery truck that probably barely goes 60 kilometers an hour and obliterates it and stops him from getting away.
It does de-evolve into like a little cartoonishness at the end there.
I'm like, but then Wanda's fight was fine. The Vision fight was fine. All the stuff was fine. The way the show ended was great. Like, so many better parts. And they still had to add Monica's little tidbit. Hey, we're buds, right? Cool, awesome. Like, no, she's irrelevant to the whole story.
The whole thing. She didn't need to be there.
She saved the day, get her out of there. It's about Wanda, you know. Like,
but her character, you're right in the sense that her character doesn't need to be there.
Well, yeah, they just forced it into the plot. I'm like, cool, introduce a character. But look at how Marvel used to introduce characters. They gave them some mystique. They didn't go like, look at this fucking super badass, saving the day, learning new things, getting powers. Like, that's literally, man, halfway through the show, I was like, what's next? They're going to give her superpowers? What did they do?
They gave her superpowers.
Yeah. So I start to like see it ahead of time, and then I'm like, okay, this is why I can't binge watch shows, because
for sure,
4 or 5 episodes in, I start being able to predict how the show's going to go.
But that's everything.
And then I'm like, well, I'm an asshole because now I'm mad and I should just enjoy it. And...
No, man, I'm not saying that you're an asshole for being mad at it, but I just think like it's such a trope for television that you're getting mad. You're getting mad unnecessarily because this is going to happen in every show all the time.
Well, and that's half the time why I don't watch it. Everyone's like, why don't you watch shows? I'm like, because this happens too often. Like, rarely do I find a show that really just like blows my socks off. And like, it's an emotional response out of me that's actually good. Like, I still reference Breaking Bad, man. That show to me was just like, what am I watching? I can't figure out what's going to happen, you know?
Well, that was like my like why I enjoyed The Mandalorian so much. You had a bunch of characters did make dumb choices. Like every character in that show makes like an intelligent choice, but it's ultra rare.
And if mistakes were made, they learned from them. They weren't like, I told you my idea was right, even though you thought I was wrong. It's like, no, man, you learn from fucking up. Like,
I don't know. Like that's like I just my like I'm not shitting on your take. I'm just saying that like that's every show though. Like that's every show.
I understand. Like I have to just like look past it. But again, this is why I don't watch most television that comes out. Sure. But then the show itself is not bad. That's what's even more frustrating. All the cute like the Easter eggs, all the neat ways they tied everything together, everything was just so clever. And then they're like, oh, we got to force feed this in for you. You got to know about this character. Like, no, why couldn't you do it better? They just slammed her in there. Like, that's how I felt about it, man. I'm like, they just added an extra layer that didn't need to be there.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I don't I don't think any of your points aren't valid. Like all your points are valid. I just think that's TV now. I mean, that's why I stopped.
That sucks though. Like
it does.
I probably wouldn't even have a complaint with the show if they didn't add that character in. It was so blatantly intrusive to me, right? Like,
I'll tell you what, I don't even mind the character so much. And even the introduction to the character and even the character's backstory being like, I honestly don't think she's quote unquote a Mary Sue because we don't know her backstory. We don't know where it's from. Yeah, but hold on now.
She's super intelligent.
Yeah, but hold on. I don't think you need the supplicant with the guy telling her like, if you were here, you'd have had this gig. That was unnecessary. The whole thing with the alien spacecraft, the moon rover thing, just showing up based on her designs at the drop of a hat, that was super weird. Like there are better choices they could make within the story to do the character justice. Like there are things you could do to make that character better or digestible or acceptable without just making her like super heroic, like never wrong.
And immediately super heroic. Like I thought it was neat how they're like, hey, we want to get your feet wet again.
Yeah.
Will you take this assignment? And then it turns into what I love is the whole TV show to me. I don't know if you're aware of this. I might have mentioned it before. It's called like the SCP Foundation is like these short stories that are all from the same universe that people have fan fiction created on Reddit.
Yep.
And there's narrators on YouTube that read the stories out, and they're great because they're anywhere from existential horror to like science fiction fantasy to everything, like mixed. It can be anything.
Yeah.
So the whole show was like an SCP Foundation episode, and it's like they were the SCP, like Sword is like the SCP Foundation investigates anomalous stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, okay, we know this is already fucked up. Let's just go investigate it.
Yeah.
So everyone's awareness of it is great, and like how weird shit happens, like the guy on the rope, he goes through and then the rope gets cut off and it's a jump rope.
Yeah, it's like a little skipping rope end.
They don't know. They're like, why is this a jump rope? Or her pants are 87% Kevlar. Like, that's funny to me, right?
Yeah, like all the gear she was wearing when she went in
was
already there.
But why make her just like show up and immediately she's like, oh, I got to take care of this crazy mystery that I know nothing about. And I just got back from being non-existent for the last few years. Like the flashback stuff happens.
That's what also loses me there is like she for 5 years she's irrelevant to the world because she doesn't exist. So that's a lot of experience that somebody like won't have. Those are world event experiences that you just won't have. And then she's not that old. I said she's not that old either, right? Let's just assume that what year does Captain Marvel take place?
I don't even remember. It was late 90s.
Like late 90s, right? And she is
early 90s, and then her mom is like she's the daughter
of her friend, right? The Goose of like Black Goose. Yeah. She's the daughter of Captain Marvel's Goose character.
Like, your mom is awesome. Your mom is awesome. I was like, that's cool, but like, who cares? Like, no, like they keep bringing it up like I'm supposed to care about that, right?
Yeah.
And it's like even in cheesy action, the thing is that it's like they're looking up old cheesy action movie shit, even though nobody wants that anymore because they don't know where to go. They're like, oh, let's just do all the same tropes that they wanted before, but now we'll give them to women to have. And it's like that's lazy. Write a whole new idea.
Well, that's just the way it is. Yeah, that's unfortunately where we are right now. Like, there's gonna be a floodgate of that content right now, and
it's
there
like a backlog. It's like they got to play catch up with female heroines and give them all the shit. Like, there's gonna be a female commando.
I think
they're gonna make a female commando. You know they're gonna.
I would imagine. I mean, we've already seen the last few years. Like, Atomic Blonde is basically like your female version of like pick your character, right? Of whatever it is. That's Peppermint, and Jennifer Garner.
Good. It has its cheesy
it's
shit.
Not bad.
But, like, if you can go, oh yeah, I guess it's just like one of those male cheesy action movies. You don't
care,
same thing.
Right? You just don't care, right? But in the same sense, like we don't shit on those characters for having special abilities or high level powers before we meet them, because the entire thing we've already decided we don't know them. We're just gonna walk into a show and see what happens, and we accept it. But the problem with this is like they shoehorn it in to an already good scenario where this character is unnecessary.
Yeah, like
that's
super
the problem.
Unnecessary, and she keeps trying to break through the thing. And it's like you don't even know what's going on in here. Yeah. You don't know anything about like the way that she can warp reality, but yet you somehow know. And then this girl is astrophysicist who all of a sudden knows everything and fixes the whole problem just like that. Even though what has she been doing for the last 5 years? Like studying this shit. This is an anomaly.
Well, we know she's been around for more than 5 years, though. That's like she's been from Thor, right? She's been around with like Eric Sheldon for a long time.
Oh, hey, you're back? Perfect. What about the other 4 people they brought in to study it? They didn't even talk to them after that. They talked to them in the truck. She made fun of the chemical engineer, and then they didn't see them again.
And they're gone.
They're gone.
Yeah.
She's the only one that can save the day. Like, why did they like? She knows more stuff than all the other people in there.
I do. My enjoyment out of all this is how triggered you are by the entire story.
I know, and I hate it. This is why I'm like, I don't watch fucking shows, because I usually get pissed off at them halfway through. I'm like, that's just my problem. I'm not going to say people can't watch them.
No, but
I'll never. I used to be like, that show sucks, don't watch it. Now
I'm like, feel like
if you like it, you like it, right?
I do feel like you are where I was about 10 years ago. Like 10 years ago, I would endlessly talk shit about 24 I'm like, that's all I did. All I did was talk shit about 24. So like I think you are now in that place now with TV where I was, but I'm resolved to it, so I just don't care.
I was worse, right? Like 10 years ago, I couldn't watch barely anything.
Yeah.
And I don't, like, I still really don't watch much. But again, it's just predictability. Sometimes it's just when you start playing the storyline out, like, you can actually quote characters before they say what they're going to say because it seems so predictable.
Oh, for sure. It's super formulaic.
Done on TV shows, and it's really weird.
Dude, it's true. I mean, like, all shows now run with the same formula. They have the
and like, I watched TV religiously as a child, so I feel like they really didn't change much.
No,
I just like sponged up all that information.
That's not even they didn't change much. They've gotten worse. Like, TV has gotten worse because back then the formula was fresh. Like, nobody really knew what to expect. But now you can see the formula coming. Like, especially when you said like here she comes and she's gonna get like here she comes. She knows everything. She's gonna save the day, get kicked out, get superpowers, go back in. It's like you can read that coming because that's how it always works.
She's gonna defy her superiors because they don't deserve to talk to her like that. And it's like, you're also now a terrorist because you went against the government. Her injured guys, they were just going to escort you away. You weren't going to prison.
You beat the shit out of those guys.
And then they beat the shit out of guys, stole vehicles, hacked into government fucking websites and whatever, hacked into their servers. You're a terrorist now. Yeah. And it's like, no, you were right to do what you did. No, you're going to fucking jail, man. Like, your boss, you attacked your boss. And then why did he shoot the kids? That seems a bit nuts. Like, why would he do that?
Well, because they're tropey bad guys, right? I mean, that's just what they are. They're just tropey bad guys.
Like, he's a human being. He's not a monster. He's like, shoot the damn kids. Like,
but
turned out to be, he wasn't not a Skrull. What was he? What's the guys that hate the Skrulls?
Oh, the Kree?
They switched everything up now. So the Skrulls are like a minority group that's like being tortured. I forget now.
Yeah, but that's from the comic books.
No, I know. Well, no, in the comics, the Skrulls were bad, and so were the Kree.
The Kree were worse. The Kree were always worse.
Bad. They both hate humans, and they both fight each other for the dominance of the universe. It's not like.
So I don't know what's going on for sure. Like, all I really know is who the characters are in Captain Marvel. I haven't seen Captain Marvel yet. So
I know. Like,
I don't know how they're presented.
The movie trope, then we're sticking to the movie, like where they're being ruined by the Kree because the Kree are horrible.
Okay, so I don't know how it works there. But what in the comics, like the Kree were always pieces of shit, and the Skrulls.
So were the Skrulls, though. But I read it anyway, and I know things have changed since. But like, I know now also that they write the movie ideas into the comics now so that they fit better. Before the
MCU existed, the Skrulls were always like shoved off of one planet to another planet by the Kree. The Kree were always like crushing the Skrulls.
They were just better at. They just won.
Yeah.
The Skrulls weren't seeking like asylum from Earth.
But they weren't looking for war either. The Kree were just like destroying them on a regular basis.
Yeah, but I thought the Skrulls were like slowly constantly trying to take over the human race, take over the Earth.
They're trying to get.
Why did they? They did lots of times.
Because
they would shapeshift
because they believe the Earth belongs to them.
Yeah.
Like it's within the Skrull Empire.
Yeah, but did they do that? That was something that happened after Secret Wars, I thought.
No. Like this is like
that during the Secret Wars.
Before that, we're talking like the 80s, the 90s, like the Kree Skrull War,
so the
all
80s,
that.
90s Skrulls were always trying to like reclaim the Earth. Allegedly.
They were shoved off of, I think, Hala. They were pushed off their home worlds by the Kree so many times that they decided it's time to like kind of go home, and they would come to Earth, and then humans had already aligned with the Kree. And then Captain Marvel joined up with the humans, and then all of a sudden the Skrulls were just like bad guys, and that's why that one is it Kl'rt, or who's the one who's the Super Skrull, the current Super Skrull?
I don't know.
That's why he's like
in for the movies, you mean?
No. In the comics, he's trying to unify the humans and the Skrulls. Where this is like during Annihilation, like before the Marvel Universe, the MCU existed. Like during Annihilation, I'm pretty sure he's the guy who's trying to bring everybody together. Like he's the one who's like, nobody needs to be killing each other. Like, I was a warrior. I've seen death. I've seen violence. I've seen fights. We got to stop battling.
Okay. But I mean, now they're like seeking asylum and they suck, and apparently they aren't like.
So it's just like
the Kree or whatever.
A more extreme version of that.
You know, they put that title credit thing at the end. So, what's her name? Her name is Rambo, but it's spelled French, which I just hate. Like, that bothers me. I know it's intentional. Like, I know it's intentional. I don't care what anybody says.
But she's also, I'm pretty sure she's been around since the 70s, though.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm saying the way was she introduced like that in the comics?
Yeah.
Nobody probably was worried about it.
Yeah, no. She was always there. Like she's been around a long time, man.
Make her an obnoxious Mary Sue character in the comics. She was just a super powered character like all the rest.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like I've never once read a comic where I thought this female character is overpowered. Never. I was like, those are her powers. Like you just
assume that's what it is.
So when I see this stuff, I'm like, maybe because it's acted out poorly, maybe because I just don't. Maybe. I don't know.
Could be.
Like I've never even Shield agents, anything like. I never had an issue with female characters in comics because they held their own. It made sense to me that they had the abilities they did.
Yeah.
And then in this case, it's too much. Like I don't. But then again, it's so irrelevant to me. The whole show, like. I kind of want to just get this off my chest first because there's so many cool things in the show that are way better.
Did that instance of that thing happening with Monica Rambeau's character, did it ruin the entire show for you?
No, not at all. It's just that there's full episodes I had to fast forward through because I was like, okay, get back to the main story. I don't give a shit. I get that, like, they took way too long explaining shit about her that I was like, I don't need any of this information.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been condensed into scenes throughout the show, not here's her full show episode for herself. Mm-hmm. And it's fine. Like I got through it, but then it's like there's really unnecessary dialogue.
You're like, it's all right. I was able to. I survived it. I was like, you're a survivor of her storyline.
And then most of her scenes, I just got bored. I was like, when she got her truck, I'm like, okay, well, I'll fast forward to see how the truck goes. It's like, okay, the truck didn't work. So, and then she went from wearing her space gear to having her hair fully done and out before she jumped through the portal. I'm like, hey, what is that?
Yeah.
Like, her hair wouldn't be perfectly done and styled right before she, like, after wearing that suit. It took her 20 minutes. Like, the montage of her getting in there reminded me of the montage from Armageddon. When they when they all get ready to get into the moon rover. Well, yeah, her whole scene was like, oh wow, okay. This
is really like when you look at her story, it's no different than the Armageddon guys. Like just a bunch of guys who don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Like her character is like a Michael Bay short story put inside of the WandaVision TV show.
Like instead of training scientists to like get through there, we're gonna train an army character with no science background. Just because we need her to get superpowers to walk through the wall.
And she's just like, and here's the thing too. She's an amazing fighter pilot. Apparently, that's the idea. She took after her mom. She's military, whatever, and like.
Yeah, she was like Air Force or something. Yeah.
Because that's why they grounded her or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like that's totally irrelevant. Make her be good at flying shit. I don't know. It's like that was the only reason that was brought up is so that they could assign her to run a drone.
Yeah.
And then from then on, it was like her using drones was completely irrelevant.
They dropped that entirely.
Fucking thing.
They just got rid of it completely.
Yeah. But so anyway, I think she was so like it's almost like they added it in after when they're like, we don't have enough of her because we need her to have a movie or we need to gauge her popularity so she can have her own career.
I think that's likely. I think they really want to bring her in as a new character.
I don't think that's going to go well. I think I think that character.
Oh no, it's going to do incredibly well.
Well, I don't think it will, man. I think she's going to get a show and it's not going to be good, or they'll give her a movie and it won't be good.
Hell no, man. Captain Marvel, from everybody I've talked to, blows. Like, that movie is not good. And look at the money that it made. It did well.
Well, not really, though. Like, didn't they postpone the sequel, or they didn't want to do another one? There was a lot of debate after the movie came out.
I'm pretty sure all that is still going to happen. Like, it might happen slower because of COVID, but it's definitely going to happen.
Yeah, but I still remember after all this stuff came out and all the hype around the movie, and then it's like really... It didn't perform that well, but they act like it did. It's like they don't want to.
That's. Like, I think that's a big part of it too. Yeah.
Like the one thing that bothered me is, like I said, I wanted to watch the show so I didn't get like stuff ruined for me. Mm-hmm. But like, I think that you almost see like tons of like additional positive reviews for shows, almost like they're brought up like bots. I feel
that for sure happens. Like if you look at like Rotten Tomatoes,
pay for better ads to show up, and then they will. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Fake reviews, whatever you want. Like,
you've heard
YouTubers to review stuff.
You've heard my argument about like the whole Stallone thing, right? Stallone not getting the Oscar for Creed.
Well, yeah, exactly, right.
Like Stallone had the best performance. He won the Golden Globes, but Steven Spielberg wanted an Oscar winner for the BFG. So he lobbies and lobbies and lobbies. And Mark Rylance, who has one of the weakest performances of the year, he plays a sniffling like secret agent who is supposed to be like a Russian spy in London or in Scotland or some shit like that. Bridge of Spies.
Oh, that's what he lost.
The Tom Hanks movie. So Stallone.
He lost to Bridge of Spies.
He loses Best Supporting Actor to Mark Rylance in Bridge of Spies, which nobody remembers. Everybody remembers Creed, and everybody remembers Rocky's resurgence in Creed, but nobody remembers... Like, do you know Mark Rylance's character's name in Bridge of Spies?
I don't even really vaguely remember the movie Bridge of Spies. I understand the context.
Culturally,
I never even saw it.
Culturally, nobody gives a shit about that character.
No.
Nobody does. Like, but he wanted an Oscar winner for the BFG.
Yeah, like that's insane.
Yeah. And for sure that happens in these movies too.
What's that?
I'm saying for sure that happens in these movies too. Like that definitely happens the way you're saying it happens for like, lobbying and payments and fucking I'll scratch your back kind of shit too.
Like, and I don't recall seeing so many people on like Instagram just like littered with like, you have to watch this show, why you need to watch the show, what happened.
Yeah.
Like nobody cares that fucking much about a show, especially a show like this. Like there's tons of other shows out there.
Yeah, but that's advertising.
It's being littered with all this like regular people reviews on Instagram.
It's straight up advertising. Like that is straight up advertisers. Like it's not so much a bot, but those are paid advertising.
I did enjoy it, but it was like they needed to back up.
Okay, hold on. Like, let's just obviously that character's under your skin. It's hardcore bothered you. But let's move on to what you actually enjoyed about it. Like what were things that you actually liked about it? What were the Easter eggs? You said there were some things that you enjoyed about the show.
Well, like I said, just the whole aspect of it being like a secret organization monitoring an anomalous existing thing, and everyone just being aware that we don't know what it is, but we have to accept that it's nuts, right? That's great. I loved how they had they tried a bunch of different times to get in there, so I liked the way they handled the anomalous thing, and then I just liked how they put so much detail into tying everything together with Wanda and why she did what she did, how she did it. The Agatha chick, I actually was very unfamiliar with her. Like I don't remember encountering her when I read comics.
Yeah, I just remember her being like Franklin Richards. Wasn't she like Franklin Richards' babysitter? Like that's what I remember her as.
Probably, yeah, but that would make sense why she would, because she infiltrated the group obviously to like learn, because that's her whole thing. She wants power, right? Well,
again, like I don't remember her being like a power mad sorceress in that. I thought she had something to do with the place where Jessica Drew was born. I thought that's where she was from. But then I also thought she was the lady. Well, you know what? She might. I didn't care too much about those characters, so she might have something to do with Wanda, and through her becomes like Nathan Richards or Franklin Richards' babysitter.
I looked up who she was, and in the comics, she's actually somebody that teaches Wanda how to use her powers.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So she's actually, and like I think obviously there's probably some underlying shit where she's mind controlling Wanda, maybe, or and that's her way in to find Franklin Richards, or like I could see that tying it in.
But yeah, I think she's supposed to be fairly altruistic.
All of a sudden, Wanda now knows everything about witchcraft power, which is like, okay, well, it was still cool. I like that she made the dome have runes on it. Like she figured out, and it's like, well, that story. The nice thing about that is that aspect is done like over and over again in movies in a cool way, where the master underestimates how powerful the student actually is.
Yeah. Or how much the students learn
faster, kind of like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Like a girl in that movie, the younger girl was hiding all the knowledge from her master, right?
Well, you remember the scene when she's using the paintbrush, and then she's like, "You're holding your paintbrush like people hold a sword. Like there's a skill crossover there, right?" It's like, "Oh yeah."
And certain people noticed it, and she's like, "Oh, what do you mean, right?"
What are you talking about?
Yeah. And then the old lady figures out that she knew everything all along. She's just been pretending. It's so great, and like that's well written. Again, perfect example. There's no Mary Sue's in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah. And everybody's earned their position there.
4 powerful female characters.
It can happen, but it happens in better stories.
Yes,
like it happens in better
into
stories.
Developing what they could be, and it did seem like that chunk of this show was very slapped together.
Yeah, but oh man, I don't know, man. I think you're asking too much of a show. Like you're asking too much of digestible content.
I don't want to have to even think about it. So like you could even make it less important, and I would care less. I don't know, like why do you make it? It's like they slap you in the face with it. It's like if you made it shitty, don't make it so out in front of everything else, right?
All shows, man.
In the back, put little snippets in,
all shows, they all do it. And here's a big part of it too. I think right now too, there's been such a for the longest time, there was such a wave of bad storytelling and neglectful storytelling towards female characters and minority characters that now you've got the wrong people that are writing stories that are front and center. Like now you've got people who are doing that, like they're just slapping shit together. They're giving you these like very quick put together Mary Sue characters because they suddenly have agency. Because they get hired to do something. It's like, hey, we need somebody. Get her. She's written a couple of novels, a couple of books. Get her quick. Or like she was a writer on whatever show where she wrote a couple of good characters. Bring her in real quick. or whoever it is, and you get four storytelling.
It's like, well, how many of these people actually read comics or read comics, or are they just, it's comics? How hard is it to write a comic?
That's probably a big part of it too.
Have a cocky attitude about how they can transcribe a comic character into live action.
Yeah, that's a big part of it as well.
You get bad TV shows and bad movies.
Yeah, for sure. There are definitely people who do it well.
The character Agnes was great. Like, I loved how every time she was always the person, like the typical neighbor that had the shit.
The nosy neighbor.
And like that actress is awesome. Yeah. Because she's ex-SNL alumni.
Amber Hunt.
And she's like, she's fucking great. So, and then her playing the villain, I was like, oh, cool. Like, it didn't seem cheesy to me. Like, I don't know. There was, like I said, there's tons of good stuff about that show.
There's a lot of good.
I don't see the point of a second season, though. Like, is it supposed to go more than one season?
No, I think they're going to fold everything into Doctor Strange. Like, this whole season gets folded into Doctor Strange. Like, this is like a prequel to Doctor Strange.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering is, like, Winter Soldier might do more because they can do missions, but this was like a whole short story, I find. So if they were to progress her more, I don't know where they'd go with it, and it might be kind of bad. Well,
if they progress further, it's going to be, I think, probably like Disassembled. Like, they're going to do something like Avengers Disassembled, where you have her break reality,
but they can't make Wanda season 2. Like, I don't think...
No. I don't think you'll get WandaVision season 2. You'll get the characters.
Yeah, sure.
But it won't be like WandaVision season 2. It might be like Vision.
Another show that she ties into, like, maybe she wants to learn more about her shit, so she seeks out Doctor Strange, or maybe he realizes how powerful she is now and he seeks her out.
Well, I mean, you've got her now where she's got an astral projection of herself pretending to be a real person in a cabin somewhere. Meanwhile, she's reading that fucking book in the back.
Yeah, so it's like, is she going bad, or is she trying to learn more, and maybe she wants to still recreate Vision? Which I thought I didn't understand that. He made the other robot understand logically who he is.
He filled in the real Vision with all... see, this is what I think happens. I think what you've got is her version of Vision that she builds, right? She wishes him into existence, but he has all the memories of Vision because she stored those memories in her version of the Mind Stone. So now he is up to date. He's the Vision who is currently up to date. Dead Vision, he dies in Endgame. He shows up to fight Vision. This Vision installs all of his data into that Vision. So now the Ghost Vision, he is now currently up to date.
So why did the physical Vision leave then?
He had to go figure some shit out.
But he evaporated, or he dematerialized. Like, he's real now.
No, but
she made him real, just like Pinocchio. But he now is gone. Like,
he's gone. That's like, she's holding all that together with her power. Once she lets that go, it's gone.
They made him though.
No. The Ghost Vision is the real one, the white Vision.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gone. He flew away. He's not there anymore.
No, I thought he touched him, gave him all his memories, and then he turned the color of Vision.
No, he turns the color of Vision, but he leaves. The two Visions leave. Didn't he walk away?
I was sure they were floating together. He touches him, all his color changes, and he gets real eyes. Yeah. And he's like, I'm Vision. And then the Ghost Vision's like, good, I can leave now. And then he takes over.
No. The Ghost Vision doesn't leave. The real Vision leaves.
The robot, the white robot.
The physical, real Vision. The one he had all in pieces. Sword made. Yeah, he's the one who's gone.
Okay.
But he's not, like, Sword didn't made him. That is the real Vision. Sword had the real Vision in parts.
Like, they took his parts and put them back together?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I kind of missed that when they were explaining it, and I was like, oh, did they just make another one?
No.
And it's not going to be as good? I don't know.
No. Like... The Ghost Vision is the real Vision made from vibranium. The Ultron created Vision, and he leaves. And then the other Vision hangs around, finishes the show out. So now we have another Vision out there who's got all the data. He's completely up to date.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And obviously they'll encounter each other again. But, like,
for sure.
I did like how they had her kids, like, leave and stuff. Like, she's like, this isn't real, I gotta get rid of this.
Yeah.
But also, that's what made her insane last time.
Yeah.
So I really wish that they had done that.
I think that's going to be a part of it.
Like, oh, she's an insane monster now, and she just flies away, and they're like, okay.
Well, how much of all that did you read when the comics were out, like Young Avengers?
I don't think I read Young Avengers at all. The only thing I read from was House of M after she'd, like, killed Hawkeye and, like, remolaicularized everything for however long she was, right?
Well, that's Disassembled. So after Disassembled, during Disassembled, she destroys, like, all the Avengers. She doesn't destroy the world yet. They take her to, what's that place? Genosha?
Yeah.
I think they take her there, and that's where Magneto has her.
Yeah.
And Avengers just kind of carries on. Hawkeye's dead. Everybody's all messed up, and she just disappears. Then afterwards, she realizes all the stuff she's done, and that's when House of M starts.
Oh, okay.
Well afterwards. But after all of that, once the world gets put back together again and the Young Avengers show up, you've got Speed. I think Speed. He's a little guy in the green suit who looks like Quicksilver. And then you've got Wiccan, who looks kind of like Thor. So if you notice the Halloween episode, the way they were dressed in the Halloween episode,
like
that's how Wiccan and Speed are dressed.
I remember the way.
Because they're the twins.
And then I like how they made the fourth wall joke about they recast Pietro or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that was really clever.
That's pretty good.
They should have both of them technically because they're multiple realities. Like
I've got a feeling they're gonna do something with that. I don't think that Pietro is just like Ralph Boner, whatever the hell his name was. I think that is Pietro.
Well, because they want to obviously bring the X-Men back in, which is cool, or they want to bring mutants back in, which is really cool.
Yep.
So I know that there's a whole method. The whole thing too is I watch the show, and every time they would do something, I'm like, okay, this must be a way they're gonna start tying everything together. Like my whole mindset was there'll always be. This is like the start of the new phase of Marvel films.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm excited about that, and they didn't totally ruin it. Like
I don't think they can't ruin it. I don't think this has as much. Like this is just almost like we're looking through a peephole. Like we're seeing where they're gonna kind of go, but I don't think this is like movie 1, phase 5 or whatever it is, like phase 4.
Yeah, and I don't care, but you're right though. Like I like that we're looking at just a little bit of what the whole expansion is gonna come out with, and I'm curious to see what they want to do. And
there were a lot of cool, like as far as Easter eggs go, I really enjoyed how whenever she does break down reality, how it looked like the cubes when she was tearing apart the world and disassembled. Yeah. And when she kind of said the no more mutants and her face kind of jigsaw puzzles apart, like they did a lot of really cool visual cues that looked like the comics. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I appreciated that too. And again, I liked how well the show was put together, the way they tied. I don't know, it was well written. Yeah. The whole show was very well written. That's why it's such a problem, man. I'd sit there and get pissed off. It's like none of this other stuff is bad. Why is this one thing so bad? Like,
you can't focus on that.
Who put the effort into all the other shit and not this? Like,
I think you have to walk away from that. Like you can't focus on it because it will destroy your ability to enjoy that particular show, right?
Yeah, and that's for me. That's why, like with this whole Winter Soldier TV show, I'm gonna obviously be more open minded about it.
Yeah,
because I know like there's also too. I've already had it spoiled that there's like a Captain America character.
Well, that was obvious. That was like day one, right?
Yeah, but I didn't see anything. I knew nothing about the show, right?
Yeah.
And like I kind of hope that it's like going to be US. He's going to be who US Agent is, which is kind of fun. Like
you haven't watched
that, it's great. What?
You haven't watched any of it, right?
No.
Oh, yeah,
and how many episodes are out?
There's 2 out now. There's 6 altogether.
Okay.
It's really short. It's really short. It's really short, and they're about an hour each. Like it's actually like 49 minutes per episode.
Yeah, it's like a mini series. Like, it's actually a mini series. Yeah,
but,
that's cool. And I think I'll enjoy it. Again, I'm a little up in the air with how they want to do it, but I'm curious to see what they do with Cap. Like, I think obviously a big part was Chris Evans just doesn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But
no. I think you should jump on board because it feels very much like they're going in the same direction as like John Walker in the comics.
Okay, cool.
Like it's got that feel to it, and they actually put a lot of weight on Sam for like, why did you give up the shield, man? Like, why did you give up the shield? So they do it right in the sense they don't just make it like, we're giving it to a black guy just because like, diversity. It's like, no. They're giving it to him because Cap did respect him enough to give it to him. And then everybody else is like, why did you give it up, man? Like, what are you doing? He's like, it's not mine. It's not my shield. The whole time he's like, it's not my shield. Like, it's not mine to carry. So, and then when they do finally have the first episode that like acknowledges what happens to the shield and John Walker, and you feel how you would feel. Like when I watch, I was like, that's exactly how I thought I was going to feel about it.
Okay.
So it's pretty well done. And I got to tell you, like Wyatt Russell, not only does he look like his dad, like it's Kurt Russell's kid, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it feels he does a pretty solid job. Like he can really actually it feels like Kurt Russell. Like when he starts like walking and talking and acting like that's just Snake. That's Snake as Cap.
Well, and that's cool because like Kurt Russell could play Cap from a certain era. If they asked him to, he could have maybe played him a certain way because just more of like the overconfident Cap.
Yeah.
Like an old veteran soldier. Like I could see Kurt Russell doing that. So I'm curious. That's cool. I didn't know anything about that. Like,
it's Wyatt Russell who is like really. It's good. It's well done. Like I'm really enjoying it. It feels like a 90s era spy like spy show more than it feels like anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm really enjoying that.
And what time era is that based in? Then it's after the final Endgame movie.
Yep, it's right now. It's like it's post blip, so it's post 5-year gap.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, like I think I'll look forward to them, and I trust that they're like, hey man, they just want to make money, but at least they're making some pretty good shit, and like I'm really curious to see what they come out with.
The one I'm looking forward to the most though is Loki. Like, I mean, that's gonna be a gong show.
Exactly, that's gonna be a TV show.
Yeah, that's coming up next. I think that's in a couple months
too, right? Like, and is it like what's it based on? His past life, like young Loki, or
the way it looks from like I've seen the trailer because I wanted to see what was going on, but it looks like it's Loki the second he gets the cube when Cap kind of screws up and drops a briefcase.
Oh, okay.
During the time heist. Yeah. And then he grabs it and disappears. That's who we're following. We're following that guy. Somehow he's going to end up back in that position with the cube gone and get ragdolled by Hulk. But he's already been ragdolled by Hulk. But we're going to end up there again.
He won't meet the same fate in Endgame, maybe.
I don't know. I have a feeling he's going to try to engineer some shit so that he doesn't. But I don't think he died in Infinity War.
Or sorry, Infinity War.
Yeah, I don't think that's... Yeah, I mean, it's Loki. I mean, if Loki dies, until I see a body in a funeral, even then I don't believe he's dead.
Well, that's also how those characters are. They're it's just the idea of them dies, right? It's always that case. None of those characters, that's why they say they're gods. They're not gods, obviously. They're a super powerful race of beings.
Uncle Ben.
I love that. It's like, just the character dies, like come back, or they'll explain how they come back.
The only death is Uncle Ben.
Yeah,
that's it. Outside of that, anybody else can come back.
Yeah. Even Cap didn't die, right? He passed through time for however many. That was so stupid.
The time bullet. They hit him with a time bullet. Yeah.
We shot him with a special bullet with a thing on it, not a regular bullet. Like, just kill him. Just shoot him.
Just shoot him. Shoot him, and then have Wolverine, give him blood or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
do whatever.
I mean, his first comeback was pretty cheesy, like coming out of an iceberg. That was pretty bad. And then they topped it by making it a soap opera return.
Yeah, they topped it by giving him a time bullet. It was pretty bad.
It was his twin. Didn't you notice the eye patch?
Oh god! Speaking of eye patch, I finally watched Far From Home last night.
What's that?
Spider-Man, Far From Home.
Oh,
Spider-Man
the one
sequel.
with Mysterio.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's a good movie.
It's not bad. It was.
I was shocked.
I was surprised at how much better it was.
So cheesy.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. I was worried. Like when I first saw it, I was on full media blackout. I didn't know what was going to go on. All I knew is Mysterio was there, and then there was like a twist at the end. That's all I knew. And I mean, not even at the end. Like they kind of twist you before the movie's even halfway done. But I really enjoyed the idea of it's not like he's not Spider-Man. He's just a kid. Like, I liked how the entire time he's just a confused little kid.
And he thinks he's like, I got to take care of this because I got superpowers. Like, dude, you have no idea. No training. No one taught you anything. Tony Stark's an asshole, and he just dumped this responsibility on you. Like
the world security system. Like, he gave you the front doors to the keys to the front door of planet Earth.
Yeah.
And he's like,
what a moron.
Here's a shotgun. So if aliens show up, just shoot them.
Yeah, and man, Jake Gyllenhaal, it was great. Like, I don't know how Mysterio would be played without his stuff on. Like, how no one knows. And he made him just this really charismatic psychopath. And it was so good.
And not just that, but even when they kind of explain why the fishbulb, why the dome on his head, I'm like, oh, that's a good explanation. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it again? I only saw it twice.
It's VR. He ran all the VR through the dome.
Yeah, it's just tech. That's the best part. They found a way to just create all the stupid, cheesy shit that Marvel invented. They found a way to make it real through, tech. Yeah. And I love that. It's like, oh, this is why it works. Oh, that makes so much more sense than just he's a really good scientist.
Yeah. Oh, man, it was so good.
Doc Ock, if they bring him back, which I hope they do.
He's coming back.
That's a character they want to bring back.
They're not just bringing him back, but they're bringing back Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. Oh, and he's coming back in that. Well, okay, so the way it looks now is you've got Doctor Strange, and that movie's called The Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
So then you've got that going on, which opens up the idea that you've got the Sony Marvel Spider-Verse. And then now you've got
Venom.
Which is Venom. So you've got Tom Holland, you've got Andrew Garfield, and you've got the Sam Raimi Spider-Man shit going on. So
and there's Spider-Verse, so that's an easy way to just create the Spider-Verse.
Well, they're going to have 3 Spider-Men in the next Spider-Man movie. And then on top of that, you've got Sam Raimi directing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness to open the door for his Spider-Man movies to come back.
Oh, see, that's great. And that's why I'm like, this is going to be a great, like, I don't know how they managed to figure that out. Like, you couldn't have done that 25 years ago, man. No one would know. They would, if someone presented this idea to a bunch of people, here's how we're going to map out the next 20 years of films for this one thing.
Yeah.
They're like, well, fuck you. I'm not going to guarantee that's going to work.
Well, they tried, right?
No, they're like, we're doing it.
Like, Avi Arad really tried to do that, but he just wasn't the guy. And then Kevin Feige shows up halfway through, I think, Spider-Man 2 or some shit like that. And he's like basically just like Avi Arad's like go-to guy. But Kevin Feige, when the Marvel Cinematic Universe starts solidifying, they put him in charge, and that dude just ran with that football. Like, he grabbed it, and he's just touchdown after touchdown, like one after another.
Oh, yeah, like, it's crazy. And then there was something else I saw that I was looking forward to. Oh, I guess we should touch on DC as well, because I want to, man, that finding out about freaking, like, Stallone voicing that character is so good.
King Shark.
We'll get there. We should touch on that and just the fact that they're casting like all the other shit. So I think like DC has finally figured out what they fucking did wrong.
Yep. Well,
but yeah, like, you know what, WandaVision was great. I have my issues with it, but I'm not gonna like. And even then, if I thought it was complete and utter trash, I still wouldn't tell somebody not to watch it because I don't care anymore. And I'm like, you might enjoy it. I don't tell people not to watch that fucking stupid the nerd sitcom that.
Oh, Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, I don't. I can't believe that show exists.
I hate that show so much.
But like, I'm like, oh, you enjoy it? Well, clearly that's the type of TV shows you enjoy.
Well, that's just it, right? I mean, there's like look at the top 10 TV shows. Like at the top of the list of the top 10 shows, let's say in 2015, it's shows that are ultra formulaic. You got like NCIS, CSI, Law and Order, Big Bang Theory.
All the CSIs.
It's all the CSI. It's grandma
all
TV.
All the SVUs.
Yes.
All.
The SVU, the PVU, the BFI. It's like you've got all these stupid shows that are so formulaic that do really well because they're easily digested by the general public, right? That's what I mean.
There
like
was the vampire tropes TV shows. That there was like 50 of the vampire shows.
Oh.
Then there was 50 zombie shows, and it was just like I told people one day, I'm like, what am I watching? These are all an hour long. Yep. There's always a cliffhanger and there's always a twist. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm watching soap operas, but they just went add zombies. Or
exactly.
Add vampire, and we've had this talk a million times. So
exactly.
It's just a format.
It's a format, man. Like you said, I'm not going to tell somebody that they shouldn't watch Big Bang Theory, but they ask me, do I watch it? I'll tell them why I don't watch it.
Yeah,
it's a steaming pile of shit.
It's trash, but there's not that there's anything wrong with that.
Right?
It's like you have to just like.
There's nothing wrong with you liking garbage. Like I know that you like to drink hot garbage juice, and that's fine. I don't, and that's fine too.
Or it's like it's not my brand of hot garbage juice, but it is yours.
I drink coffee. You drink garbage juice. So.
Yeah. I might drink cheap coffee, but you drink hot garbage water.
You drink hot garbage water.
Yeah.
Man. No, but
yeah, so cool. I'm looking forward to Winter Soldier and shit.
Yeah.
That should be
I think you'll like it.
And then I saw the trailer for Suicide Squad. I'm so excited because I think it's going to be fun and not a total fucking mess of a movie.
It looks pretty great. It looks really good.
Stallone playing Shark. What the hell is that guy called again? Shark?
King Shark, yeah. You didn't, I don't think you were that deep into DC or the 70s and 80s era like Marvel DC, but Jim Starlin is the guy who basically made, like if you enjoyed that weird kind of gritty KG Beast Batman stuff, all the Death in the Family type stuff, like that was Jim Starlin. I don't think he did Death in the Family, but Jim Starlin was the guy who did Guardians of the Galaxy in the 70s and 80s. He's the guy who did, he kind of took over for like a lot of the New Gods and space stuff. So, but he was doing all the same stuff that James Gunn is doing for Marvel and DC.
Fair.
So I kind of had this idea in my head that James Gunn was going to be the new Jim Starlin because he literally did all the stuff that Jim Starlin did in movie form.
Maybe he was just a super fan of all that guy's work, man.
I would imagine, right? Because he's really doing the same stuff. Like he's doing the same kind of storytelling.
You know what I like about that too, though, is that this is a situation when we want to go on to non-pop culture scope where that guy could have almost had his career ruined and canceled. For sure. For sure. Now, like he's basically going to save. For some reason, I'm way too confident after seeing what he's done with that movie that he's going to fix a lot of the stupid shit.
Definitely.
For DC Universe, plus knowing that the Snyder cut is apparently really good,
it's better.
Or it's better.
It's better.
It makes more sense, and their scenes are different, and that's cool. And then I heard Pierce Brosnan is Dr. Fate.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Cool. Like, that is it. I'm like, he's famous again. There it is. His careers now have resurgence.
He's like JSA Dr. Fate. Like, he's old school JSA Dr. Fate. Yeah. Which is going to be awesome.
Very, very grizzled and cynical because he's sick of wearing the fucking helmet.
Yeah. That was going to be great.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So that's great. I didn't even know that was happening. And now
it's
I
looking
have more
tight.
faith in the Captain Adam or the Black Adam movie.
I don't know if you saw that kid, Noah Centineo. He's like this little like Netflix K-pop type friggin', all the millennial shit that was going on in like 5 or 6 years ago. He got big during that era of like Netflix and Disney storytelling.
Okay.
He was a scrawny little fucker, but all of a sudden he was going to do He-Man. He was going to play Prince Adam in the He-Man movie, in the live action He-Man movie. And he still didn't look like He-Man. He looked like some kid with a big neck and tiny arms. But then he gets cast as Atom Smasher in the Black Adam movie. He sees The Rock getting ready for Black Adam, and that kid just starts eating chicken and doing weights. And now he's just a tank. Like, I couldn't be happier that people are taking their roles like seriously. Like, you're like, he just put this post up. He's like, well, I can't look the way I look and then play Atom Smasher in a movie next to The Rock because, like, come on.
Your name's Atom Smasher.
For God's sakes. You can't play that kid in that movie. So he just got gigantic. Like, that's the kind of stuff that feels like is happening with these movies in a way. They're all stepping up their game.
They're probably like, get me the best gene splicing doctor out there, and get me some growth hormone and a trainer.
So can you can you mRNA my body?
Yeah,
I need to get my body mRNA'd right now.
Yeah, I love it. I'm glad all these people are just like transforming into their roles so much better.
Yeah, man.
And then you know what? I have confidence in The Rock if they give him the right lines. And Black Adam is very stoic, right? He doesn't have to deliver his lines with any kind of charisma or finesse. He's a dictator, kind of, I guess. Like he would deliver. He should be, stoic and really emotionless to an extent, unless he's fighting, I guess.
Black Adam, I've always felt, but this is my own perspective, just from being a comic guy, is kind of like their version of Dr. Doom. He's not a good guy, but he's not necessarily a bad guy for his people. His people are like, no, we want Von Doom. Like, he's the guy who keeps us safe.
Yeah. He'll kill thieves and bad guys.
Right.
Yeah.
No, he is
kind of shit, and they're all happy about it because that's the thing. The only thing I read of Captain or Black Adam was during the 52 series.
Yeah.
And where he was currently in charge of that country, and then it reminded me of kind of the way like Magneto was running things, and I thought I like it, and they were like trying to stick it to him and get involved, and he's like, leave my stuff alone. Like, I'm not even fucking with you guys, and you're getting in my space. They're like, you're too powerful. It's like letting a nuclear warhead walk around free. I'm like, you guys are gonna fucking kill everybody because you're pissing them off.
Well, the problem is you've got these people who are like, why is there a gigantic piece of steel in the middle of the road of a country that we have nothing to do with? We should shoot it. And then like all the ricochets, there's collateral damage killing machines.
Yeah, it's killing all the civilians walking around.
And then they blame the steel. Water. They don't blame the fact that they walked in and shot something for no reason.
No, they're like, Black Adam made us do this.
Yes, just by existing.
Black Adam made us shoot wildly and kill all of his people.
It's like this. That's like the CIA going to Chile. You're like, why are you even here? It's like, well, we have to bring order. It's like, no, like we have order. We don't fucking need you. Like, you're just gonna go in there and puppet master shit.
That's why I love that conspiracy theory now. Is that was actually a CIA objective to turn that whole tanker sideways?
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. Oil prices went up, and
that's the new debate. Is that it was orchestrated to fuck up basically the world's economy.
Here's the deal: you've got a tanker that isn't any larger than all the other tankers that go through. But it's the one that wind caught it, and it just went sideways.
Oh, yeah, the wind
the wind caught it.
Cruise line captain to take over that one? Is that what happened? He's like, no, I don't need maps.
An Italian cruise captain.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was like, did they get the guy who crashed that Italian dude who didn't want someone else taking up his lane?
He's showing his girlfriend how good of a driver he is. And he just spins the wheel without paying attention. The fucking thing goes sideways.
You don't even need to use this wheel.
I don't know. I can do this one-handed with my thumb.
Have you seen the memes of that little backhoe digging out in front of it?
Yeah.
The dude who was actually in the backhoe posted it, and he's like, "That's me, yeah. You don't understand." And he's like, "And this is how I got stuck in that situation." It's like,
no way!
Because apparently they need to dig out a little bit of it or something to hook something up. Like, there's a whole explanation as to why it was there.
They can't because they can't do it fast.
No, and it's like I didn't look because it was kind of a meme story, so I just looked at it like the real guy who got stuck with that job, but he got turned into a meme like it was pointless, but really his job is super important apparently.
I like how the idea is like he has to go in there and literally dig an inch an hour, otherwise this entire thing's gonna topple.
Yeah, and they made it seem like that's the best that
that's
Venezuela
the best
could come
tool
up with or something.
Yeah, the best. Well, it's like what is it like? I don't know. Is it Cairo? Where's the Suez Canal? Northern Africa.
Oh, I'm thinking of a totally different canal then. I thought it was the one down in South America.
No, that's Panama.
That's the one they engineered. That they
yeah,
made.
yeah, the one in South America.
Suez was natural. It was a natural canal.
No, it wasn't natural. It was a natural waterway. They dug into it.
But they made it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The problem is like people have this idea that the boats, like when you see a boat, there's the majority of it is all underwater, but it's not exactly that. So they dug the sides of this thing high and the middle low to have more water, so the ballast would actually let these boats go through. But this guy got sideways somehow and hit the high ends on the edges of like an already fairly like natural body of water.
Well, but it's like literally sideways. Like I don't think there's any. I don't think they planned ever.
No.
To happen.
Oh no, never ever. And now the problem is like they have to have the backhoe to do it and the small things to dig little bits, because if they dig too much on either side, the balance goes and the whole thing goes sideways and all that shit. Like forget, you're in there for a year. You're in there for like 2 years cleaning that out.
Oh my god! And then they're talking about all the pirates that are now starting to like plan to go in and loot.
They're just salivating.
Oh my god! And then there's going to be all these black ops mercenary dudes that are going to want to go in there and defend the boat.
For sure.
I bet you there's going to be this huge fucking gunfight that goes on for like months because of it, and like orchestrated by somebody to create more turmoil. It's going to slow the process down. And they're going to make it heroic, like it's like a heroic missions that somebody did. There'll be movies made about it.
The problem now is that everything, like there's been so much like validity passed on to conspiracy theories that otherwise shouldn't have validity to them. And now like everything you hear, people are just ready to believe it. And the likelihood of it being true is not that far off.
No, and that's the worst part is now people don't trust anything anymore. So seeing that, they're like, it wouldn't surprise me anymore if that was somebody's little plan to fuck up some sort of structure that's in place. Like now that's all I think about is clearly our governments don't know what they're doing, or they're doing it just for their own benefit. They're not doing it to make the world a better place.
No. I
think more and more people are feeling very untrusting of their governments because of it. So something like that seems so outlandish.
Yeah.
Like how the fuck could that even happen? But it's like nowadays something stupid seems to happen every other day.
Yeah, and it's plausible. It's plausible to believe that somebody out there engineered it to happen. I'm not saying it did. I'm even that. Like the whole idea of like the governments are out for themselves. I don't think that's what it is. I think the problem is you've got people who don't. They're not smart people. People in government. Here's a great example. We had AG2, another guy who we know from a different podcast. He made a great comment one time that if you're in the public sector, well, that's because you can't cut it with the sharks in the private sector.
Right.
And government is a public sector job. These guys aren't sharks. They're not high level guys.
But that's the worst part is now it's almost like it's a mix of there are sharks that now are in politics.
Yeah.
So they're destroying in politics, and they're like Wall Street bankers that now get to run politics.
Fucking Gordon Gekko. You've got Gordon Gekko running like a city.
Gordon Gekko's in the political sector, and then the people that obviously, like you said, take these public servant jobs who aren't sharks are basically able to become sharks just by title alone, or they're pressured by lobbies to. They're given, hey, you want to be like me? I'll pay you X amount of money. Just help me do this thing, right? Like they lobby them and manipulate them with finances instead of like, maybe I should do the right thing because I got into this to make sure that the world is a better place or my little bubble's a better place. But it seems like it's a bunch of people that have no idea what they're doing.
I think that's what's more likely.
Money for themselves. It's not like an evil thing. It's like
no. I think it's more likely.
Frank and Bob all want to make that extra $50,000 a month, so they just wait for a lobbyist to come around and ask them to do it.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think it's more likely that you've got people out there who want to make the world a better place, but are also willing to take a little bit of cheddar. They're also,
I think they start to forget about doing that once the cheddar starts rolling in.
Again, I think I think the majority of the politicians who are out there, really do think they're making a difference for the better.
I don't anymore. I used to, but now I just think it's like people know that once you get into politics, it's just a cash cow and you get a good pension.
Well, that could be it. That could be it as well. But at the same time, like my personal belief is you've got these people in there who the ones who are able to manipulate it is because like essentially in the U.S. and here in a lot of places too, you kind of have lifetime appointments by way of like a voting base that doesn't die. That's how you get guys like Mitch McConnell they'll be there until they die. Because their voting base doesn't die. Their voting base informs the younger people who are going to vote within their voting base. And guys like McConnell stay there forever. And those guys are problematic. They are an issue. Like right now, like look at fucking Georgia. You know how like in Georgia now, it's going to be illegal to have a voter take water or food to anybody in a voting line or hand food to somebody in front of you in lineup.
Yeah, like why?
Like, well, again, here's a great example of like a conspiracy theory gone kind of bonkers. You've got voting machines and people who vote in poor communities that are usually minority communities. They get the worst people working there. They get the shittiest machines, and they have more likelihood of having longer lineups. Well, you've got people in majority communities that are more likely to vote like Republican, or they get better machines. They get better people working in the places they work. They don't get ID'd when they vote as much, so that you get Republicans just kind of perpetually staying in power. Within Georgia,
yeah, but the Democrats do that too. Both the American system is fucked, man.
It's fucked. But look, man,
there's just as many wasps on both sides.
Nah, dude, I'll tell you straight up. You're gonna see that more, and it's you can Google it. You can look at the facts. The facts still remain that more likely you're gonna have harder voting regulations and restrictions in Republican governed areas than you will in Democrat governed areas, and harder laws against voters. And more lax voting regulation for Republican voters than you will for Democrat voters, especially minorities.
But then technically, isn't that a bad thing that there isn't proper like restriction to voting to keep votes safe? Like, I don't understand how there was a protest because they passed a law stating that you had to have government issue ID to vote, and someone protested that.
Yeah, no, for sure. That gets protested a lot. Now
that's ludicrous. That's like I can go vote, but you can't do that up here. You have to be registered somewhere. That makes sense to me.
But then you can also look at how long it takes for the average minority voter to go to where they need to get their identification where they can go to get their identification. And then you look at the average
Since like the 90s, they complained that there's like one voting booth in like an entire district for everybody. It's like, what did they do this to them for? So none of them vote.
Oh yeah, and then forget about that. I mean, just look at like gerrymandering. Gerrymandering. Look at like gerrymandering is ridiculous. Where you will have like Republican demographics that have like high voting blocks in one area, and then they will just like loop in an area they can control, and then have a large voting block now control a minority voting block. Like the way they fuck around is ridiculous.
Well, in the fact that it's like every state has their own style of voting and way to vote, it's like it's almost like they tricked them into thinking it was like a good idea to let them do what they want. Yeah. When all it does is make the whole thing convoluted. Because
it's completely convoluted.
Their system is they vote for the president instead of their little part. Like it'd be different if each state voted collectively the way we did, I guess. But like I also don't like the way our system is run because I don't want to. Of course, my Strathcona is going to be NDP forever. Yeah. So fine. I don't really care about that. I'm just saying I'm not voting for that chick. I want to vote for the prime minister that that's running in that party. So,
but you vote for your party here.
But you just vote for your local party, and it's like, well, that doesn't really say anything. Like it's useless. That to me is a throwaway vote.
Whereas it's all ridiculous, man.
I'm voting for X member of the NDP or the Green Party. That's the current running prime minister.
Yeah, you should be able to vote for the person you want to be the prime minister. But again, like our system doesn't work like that.
Votes, those should be done individually. Like if she wants to keep her riding and there's an election, we vote for that individually. That doesn't reflect. That means when the coming prime minister election, maybe that affects it.
No, for sure it does, because then you don't have anybody in your party to vote with you.
Yeah, and
like I mean, because then you'd basically have like a prime minister with no power at all, right?
Yeah, but I'm not saying they need to take away their power. I'm just saying like, why am I voting for somebody locally that can only affect me on a local basis, and that might not at all affect what happens.
There's definitely problems with it. But I mean, if you don't vote for your party, like that's how like Commonwealth elections work. If you vote for your party member, then the party gets seats, and then the person who leads the party becomes the prime minister. Now, if you just voted for your prime minister and then you didn't vote for the party, then the prime minister is now the head of the country. But then he now has to basically like beg for votes among anybody who will vote for whatever ideas he's got.
No, I think you misunderstood what I meant. I'm saying like I don't want to vote for local NDP leader. Right. I want to vote for the NDP leader running for prime minister specifically. Yes. So it would be the NDP. I wouldn't say that the prime minister is like a solo campaign guy. Oh, okay.
No, I get what you mean.
I thought you thought I meant something else.
No. I get what you mean. Like you don't want to vote for, say, like John Smith running your neighborhood. You want to vote for.
Run it. Like the thing is, it's just going to be repetitive, and I'm not saying it should take them out. It's just that I'm just throwing it on top of the pile because I know they're going to get it anyway. Like
yes.
So this county's been the same riding for 20 years now. It's
been a while.
Tracy McPherson or something. I don't know, but
that sounds about
that's
right.
what I mean. I don't even care. It's like, sure, I'll go put NDP on my ticket and walk away because it feels meaningless, right?
It does. But I mean, like, that's unfortunately how our system works. Our system works where, like, if you don't vote for the person in your riding, then your prime minister, who is going to win, won't friggin' have anybody to vote with them in the party.
It's like, clearly it didn't matter that I voted NDP this year. I think I voted Green because I just was like, I'm sick of voting for the slow bipartisanship of our country, so I still vote for the Green Party because I know it's meaningless, but I refuse to just accept one of the three choices that they make us pick now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But like,
better than two, man.
It's
better than two.
Away no matter what it seems, right? You're like, oh, fuck, I guess I'll give it to somebody.
Well, that's like my argument about like what we were saying earlier. Like, I don't think, it's not that I think voting is bad, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to make an overall difference in your quality of life. Like, and your life will not change whether or not you've got person A or person B in your party. Like racism will not go away because we've got all liberals in government.
Yeah,
like it's not just going to go away.
To stop being racist,
doesn't
make it go away.
It's not going to stop. I mean, like,
thank God that 10,000 people posted to not be like, again, our current standing. Like, yes, unfortunately, there's probably a lot of random Asian hate. I guess I don't know if it's all tied to that one crazy dude shooting up those ladies in the rub and tug. Why don't we talk about the fact that they were like sex slaves first before we worry about some asshole that shot them? Like,
yeah, both things, right? But at the same time, like that's a tough one,
again,
man.
It's like the posts. All the posts you see are it's the Eiffel Tower post during the terrorist attack. It's I want everyone to know that I care, but you don't. How come no one talks about the Muslims? Now they're finally talking about the Uyghur Muslims in China. Finally. Barely, right?
Yeah.
We're finally. People totally forgot about Hong Kong.
Yep.
Nobody talks about Taiwan anymore.
Yep.
But we need to stop Asian hate.
Yep.
And I'm like, what the fuck? And everybody just is so like backwards blind to regular shit now.
And the issue too is we're so insulated to what the outside world, like right now there's a huge riot in Britain, but nobody in America's talking about it. Nobody in Canada's talking about it.
Dude, I know, and it's an anti. This is what blows me away is everyone's like fucking anti-maskers. I'm like, you know what? As far as I know, any protests internationally I've seen were anti-lockdown protests. They weren't anti-mask protests. That's a big difference. That's called they don't appreciate what the government's doing to them.
Yeah.
And they want it to change, and the government's like, no, fuck you. This is what you need.
But they loop it in. Shit. But they loop that shit in. It's like what annoys me.
Because I said, man, there's counter-protest groups now. There's literally groups going around trying to counter-protest anti-government protests in the city, Edmonton here.
Yeah. See,
and it's mind-blowing.
My issue with that whole thing is how they so easily just glaze over the fact that an anti-mask movement and an anti-lockdown movement they try to make them the same thing. They try to do that, and immediately, and this could just be because the majority of minorities might not want to be yelled at or pointed at any more than they already are, but they don't usually join.
Of course.
But they don't usually join anti-mask and anti-lockdown groups. So the people who are anti-mask and anti-lockdown are visibly almost always white. But the problem is they always point the finger of racism towards them because there are people in that group that are racist and yell racist shit.
But then they ends up, those people I feel like just wait for their opportunity to join in.
For sure.
And then the worst part is there's ones that are literally just anti-government, and someone just decides to tag on that they must just be racist if they're anti-lockdown, which is actually an anti. It blows me away that people that used to be anti, like the same people that are saying all cops are bastards are the people that are saying you're crazy for not trusting the government.
Yes.
That is fucking the biggest mind fuck I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's a wild one too. It's a cognitive dissonance thing, right?
Like if you want this safety that you think we're supposed to have, you need the police around for that.
Yeah. Getting rid of
the cops are bad.
Getting rid of the cops won't solve anything. It'll just make more problems. No. The problem is you need better trained cops. You need cops who are trained. Yeah,
I mean, we know that, but it's like it's just everyone's knee-jerk reaction. Let's put up a fucking meme about how cops are pieces of shit, but also listen to the government because they know what's best for us.
But it's the same problem.
When have you ever in your life thought that?
That's the same problem I've got, though. It's the same thing. My problem with that is like you've got these groups that really want better training for cops and better trained personnel with the police, but at the same time, they do this all cops are bastard thing,
Well, I don't even think those groups do. I think there are intelligent people that want more depth into debate, and then there's just the big group of yellers that want to remove all law enforcement whatsoever.
Yeah, but that's the same thing. That's what I mean. Like, you get that from the other side. So, like, you'll have people who are more right-wing minded. They won't try to, like, separate that group by saying that, you know, there are people out there who want better trained cops. Yeah. And they'll only push a propaganda angle that all cops are bastards and all, like, minority groups are bleeding heart liberals and pieces of shit, and they want the cops gone.
Yeah,
they don't try to separate the idea that people on the left side just want better trained police officers. The same way the left won't ever try to separate the fact that anti-lockdown people aren't all just a bunch of racists.
And crazy rednecks, and they make this crazy stereotype, and I'm like, man, I just want to see the government not be shitty. Yeah. Like, that's how I look at it.
That's all we want.
It's like, how else do I look at it? And I know they're being shitty, and I'm like, man, there's anti-lockdown protests in Toronto right now.
Yeah.
And there was a whole, what is that CBC... It's like one of those, like, not marketplace. You know, CBC has their little type of shows they do.
Like Power and Politics and all that?
Journalism.
Yeah. They've got their Power and Politics. They've got, I know W5 is CTV. But
but that's the thing. It's like, I think of Marketplace, but it's not Marketplace. It's an investigative journalism show.
I think I know what you're talking about.
She did a 20-minute thing, basically not saying not trying to understand the anti-lockdown protests.
Yeah.
She did an entire article about how people are profiting from the misinformation of anti-masks. Like, a completely biased investigative journalism report about how the protests are a bunch of crazy conspiracy nut jobs.
Yeah.
And there's people profiting from it, which, you know what, there probably are, because there's people
for sure there are
on both sides, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So there's people trying to sell medicine that's going to cure COVID, allegedly, right? And so they're tying those corrupt people to the protest groups now.
Yeah, but it's clickbait,
they're
right?
manipulating the protest groups into being anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers. And like, no, they're anti-government, man. Like, they're
they're anti-lockdown. They're anti-lockdown. That's the problem, too.
That we now have the same journalism that the Americans have.
We have biased journalism. Clickbait journalism. Like, you know,
and like the fact that we have protests this close to home means something to me. And like, no, they don't cover those protests internationally. They're everywhere.
Well, you mean the Toronto protests or the Britain protests?
No, like there's anti-lockdown protests all over the place now.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, and they won't cover them properly. The problem too is,
should be something that maybe the world government should go, hey, maybe we should talk about this.
Oh, they won't do that for sure.
Instead of suppressing protests, like, man, the UK, that's crazy. They want to pass a law that makes it illegal to protest.
Yeah, that's weird.
They want to use the coronavirus as a way to pass it.
Yeah, the thing is wonky, and like I was saying, the problem is, and I'll keep going back to it. My biggest problem is that there's no discussion about what people want or who people are. There's just finger pointing and yelling.
I never thought I would live in a reality where, because I remember ages ago them discussing about how here's how you can prevent protesters is you start like slowly corralling them, and you find a reason to make it unsafe for them to even protest, not like peacefully.
Yeah.
And they're doing it now.
They're doing it now.
This is something that they like. Jesus, you can take that. You shouldn't be able to take that away from anybody. But
no, I mean that's a constitutional right. Like the right to protest, like peaceful protest is like a constitutional right in a lot of places, right?
Yeah, and they're saying now because of coronavirus that it's not safe for you to protest.
Yeah, it's a scary world, man. I mean, it's not just...
That's weird, because that's not a conspiracy theory now.
No, it's not. And it's not a one-sided problem. The problem is, it doesn't matter what side you're on. It doesn't matter if you're right, and it doesn't matter if you're left. It's all clickbait, and it's all pointing fingers and trying to create a propaganda angle to make the other person the enemy.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest problem. This got, like, the whole idea of, like, racism in like passive or casual ignorance being called out as racism and getting canceled because you're not willing to sit down and talk to somebody about what their intent was. Like, what was your intent? I remember
there being a point where they were trying to push it as, hey, if you hear someone saying something like that, maybe try to find a way to get through to them and discuss it,
right?
And show them how you feel. But now it's all just white people correcting other white people instead of, like, if you said that shit, say you were ignorantly that way, right?
Yeah.
And then you said something that was probably ignorant in front of a black guy, and the black guy's like, hey man, you know, blah, 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 blah. you get through to them, it's like, oh shit, okay, cool. But no, it's like you're sitting in a group of white people, a guy's ignorantly racist. No one really cares because they're like, well, you know, we're all white. Unfortunately, that's the case. But you got a white guy who tries to tell another white guy, it's like, who the fuck are you when you're the same person? Is like, you're just as hypocritical as the next guy, because, you know, like if I was sitting in a room with guys and one guy says retard or the R word, another guy corrects him, 2 minutes later he uses the same word.
Yeah. He just says it himself.
Like, you don't get to fucking talk to me like that. Like, if I was in a room with a special needs person and someone said that, and it's like, we'd all be like, holy shit. And if the special needs person was like, hey man, you know, I don't like that word.
Yeah.
Awesome. I am sorry. I used to say it all the time. Like, dude, I didn't grow up saying things are gay or saying things are, you're calling guys fags.
Yeah.
I never grew up with that, but it's almost like I have to be careful around anyone because they just assume I'm that way because I'm white and I'm straight. You know, like,
look, man. Even let's just say
straight people. It's not even gay people. It's like regular. It's just someone that has no reason to be mad at me.
Let's just say, for the sake of argument, you're in a room full of only white guys, white males, right? And let's just say you make, for whatever reason, a casual, not you in general, but in the royal you.
Even if it was me and I didn't realize it, I'm sure
whatever,
I have,
man.
Right? Like,
let's just say you made a casual comment that came across as ignorant, not racist, because like just ignorant. Well,
sometimes I think when I say like lebs,
yeah,
like,
right, even
that's kind of rough, you know.
Yeah.
Like Lebanese guys or lebs, and I'm like, fuck, you know. But everybody says lebs. I've heard brown people say lebs, black guys say lebs.
Everybody says
so I'm like, right, but it still does sound a little janky.
It does. Right? It does sound. It sounds like it's rough. It hasn't been sandpapered down to be acceptable.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's just hear me out. Let's just say you're in a room full of guys and you make a comment that is offhandedly ignorant, not racist, just ignorant, but could be perceived as, hey man, like, cool it. Now, if somebody else comes to you, another white guy, and he comes to you and says, hey, you know, I mean, like, that could be perceived as being ignorant about a different minority group. There's nothing wrong with the both of you being like, I never thought of it that way, and just walking away.
But the problem is unfortunately, it's like, guys, it's their chance to be a hero.
Yeah, no, you do have that.
That really approaches it is intelligent enough to look at it as in like an ignorant misunderstanding. And it's like my chance to get my badge.
But that's where I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is like in an ideal world, you will say something that is ignorant. Somebody will walk up to you and just be like, I don't think we're saying that anymore. And you'll be like, I didn't think about it. Like just let's say the Lebs thing, right? I didn't think about it like that. It is a little bit rougher than I wanted it to be. There's no Lebanese people here, but I used it. Yeah. You didn't correct me, but you kind of like brought it to my attention.
Yeah.
In an ideal world,
I always talk about like Lebanese barbers. It's like it's in their blood. They're the people you learn. Like you learn from a Lebanese guy, man.
They're really good.
I always would say, I'm like, man, Leb barbers, right? Yep. Like that's not derogatory.
It just comes
to me.
out.
It's just Lebanese barbers are really fucking good at being a barber.
It is.
But I'm too lazy to say Lebanese barber.
It comes out. Now, the problem is that you will have people in that group in the same scenario. You're going to say something not racist, just ignorant, and somebody else is going to use that to gain like status in the room by calling you out. Yeah, that's the problem. That happens too much. In my
experience, I actually know a guy that goes by the name Jerry the Leb.
And he's Lebanese.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, so what do I do? but like to me, like I said, I say it and it's like, gosh, that does sound kind of like tag, you know, like
it sounds a little rough.
And I'm just like, okay, well, I can learn from that, and I don't really need to, but it's more just mind your P's and Q's when you talk it in a way, right?
Yes.
But it's like there's these guys looking for their hero moment. Like I'll never need a hero moment in those instances. If someone was dropping like hard N-bombs all over the place and they're mad, I might be like, hey man, I'm standing right next to you.
Hey man, you want to smoke in the other direction? Because like I don't want to fuck.
It's got an area of effect here, and it's like we're all saying it if you're saying it. You know?
We're all basically saying it if you keep saying it.
Yeah, like I'm not saying we're all going to start saying it, but like
no.
Standing here with you, it's and it's like, you know that sounds bad, right? Like, you know that's bad.
It's a rough thing to be saying.
Yeah,
but like,
so that's different. And like, I know I feel bad being this way because it's like, for weeks now, everyone posts stop Asian hate. I'm like, definitely stop Asian hate.
Yeah.
But like, what about like all the Asian hate that goes on in the world?
Well,
like, by other Asians to Asians. And like, what about...
That's not... here's the problem with that viewpoint of that. Like, what about all the hate? The thing is, right now, in where we are, it's a problem here, right? It's the house on fire.
But what I found odd is they took the shooting in the States as a catalyst to bring up the whole racism about the coronavirus thing that basically wasn't around anymore. It's like it was there, but it wasn't in the media as much.
Was around.
It was more like it was Trump's fault that everyone said it like that. They kind of got bored of it. And then the shoot up happened, and now it's like, we need to really evaluate how bad it is for Asians. I'm like, sure, but like telling me that I got to make sure I post about it isn't going to stop another guy from saying a racist thing to an Asian person.
No. You don't need to.
I wake up every morning and I'm not like, oh, thank God, as a white person, I didn't have homicidal tendencies towards Asians today.
Yeah, you don't need to post about it. No, that's wrong. Not you. What you're saying is wrong. I think like people who try to push that agenda is wrong. Look, here's
the badge thing. It's the badge of honor that they want to make sure that they get by calling out somebody. And then this man in Calgary, apparently there's all these sexual assaults happening.
Yeah.
So, and they're like, it's really rough for women and minorities in Calgary. I'm like, cool. Why are you assuming it's white supremacists that are also attacking women in Calgary?
Was that like posted somewhere? Was that like an assumption that was
no? There's just social media people that are really like, because they're posting all these.
Yeah, fuck them, man. They don't know what they're talking about.
But that's the worst part is everyone just jumped. Everyone posts it. It goes viral so much quicker now.
But that's the problem with social media.
Because the media doesn't have anything to do, so they go, oh well, let's just pick up on all this extra crap and feed off the social media accounts.
There's your problem, man. You're going to like local media and social media. That's problem number one.
I don't even go to it. I'm just like going through my normal social media.
You got to block it.
In my face.
I know.
I have to be on it now, right? Like the worst part is when you want to use it for your career, and then you're inundated with all this extra shit, and it's like I just want to go back to where I didn't have anything. Dude,
you need to post and ghost. Like you just post it and walk away. Don't look at shit.
I'm going to, and I do for the most part, but like it's just like it's so rampant, and like, man, what did you do to stop anybody from doing anything other than put that on the internet?
Dude, here's the thing. Going back to the Stop Asian Hate thing, I don't know if you've noticed or our listeners have noticed. I'm not a white guy, so I get an awful lot of shit thrown my way all the time. But
that's the worst part is I'm aware of all that. Like it's just horrible stereotypes.
But the thing is, like, look, I don't need you as my friend to post Stop Asian Hate for me to know that you're not a piece of shit, right?
Yeah, like if you were reminding me about that, I'd be like, what do you mean? I'd be like, I bugged Luke one day. I was like, hey, Luke, did you make sure not to murder your child and your wife today?
Right? Exactly. Married to like an Asian with a half Asian kid. Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, I had to make sure I had to suppress all my rage towards my Asian wife. I'm like, exactly.
Like those are the things where I think like that's where you need to have more like normal dialogue instead of just the yelling and screaming. Like you absolutely have to post and ghost. You have to just put what you need to put out there and walk away, because there's so much bullhorn bullshit from small groups. Like you are looking at literally the 10% of both sides who might do something, and then the 2% of both sides who do something, and they're both really loud. That's all it is.
Yeah, and I almost do, and I almost think of my posts every time I make one. I post like as if I don't know anything else is going on other than what is going on in that post.
That's what you got to do.
The posts have to be so in the moment.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm glad I do that, right? I don't associate it with anything else.
Because
and
I'll be
right, I got to just look less.
Man, you have to do less. Because I'll be totally honest with you, man. Like, it's not that racism has gone up in like such a gigantic spike. But there's like you do feel it. Like I had one in fucking Sobeys. I was just getting my groceries. I told you about the other day.
It's like, what's with your mask? It's
I'm just wearing a mask that's got a skull on it. And honest to God, I do wear that mask being a non-white person to kind of have like a fuck you going on so I don't get harassed.
Yeah, that's fun. And you know what, man? How come if a bunch of those stupid goth kids that wear like the whatever cyberpunk stuff with them, it's not
whatever it is.
It's like steampunk but goth.
Yeah. I know what it
is.
Yeah,
they're wearing that shit. He wouldn't ask him what the fuck is up with their mask.
No, man, he wouldn't. But like, a white guy in a Sobeys has all the balls in the world to ask me, like, to point at me and ask me what's up with what I'm wearing. And then,
that's what we're talking about too. Is how come all these people that would usually bite their tongue and be miserable and complain about it on the ride home? What gave them the courage to now speak up and say on both aspects, right? Like,
for sure.
Dude, do you remember? This is fucked up. But the second time I went to Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
That girl that got offended by my shirt.
Oh yeah.
Like this is what I'm talking. This is 5 years ago now.
Basically, an oral sex shirt. Like
But no, not even. It's just a band shirt, and it's out of the 3 things it says on there. One of the things says "eat pussy," and the other 2 are "hail Satan" and "drink whiskey."
No, but what I'm saying is like
shirt.
It's not violent. It's just saying like basically drink your booze, pleasure your woman, and be a good person.
But even then, you don't need to dissect it because anybody that I know is aware of just band shirts. I've never offended. I worked at the gym all the time.
Yeah.
Do you think anybody got mad at me at the gym here in Canada?
No, hold on a second. No, definitely dissect it. Dissect it down to what it actually says. There's nothing hurtful on that.
But I already know, but me knowing that, like, I'm not worrying about offending somebody, but then you have a complete stranger from, like, Ireland, I think she was from, and she was shit-faced.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's offensive about it? And she's like, what it says eat pussy. I'm like, is that a bad thing?
Is that offensive?
And then it offends me. I'm like, the word, is it too vulgar for you? I was like, you're in a country where they shoot like razor blades out of their vaginas, right? And you're in an after-hours bar getting shit-faced. And what you're doing is probably more offensive to the locals than what I'm wearing right now.
You're in a party town with a guy you don't know.
Yeah.
And a shirt that doesn't say anything offensive on it.
No,
and you are creating a moment.
Or rape all women. Like, it doesn't say something like, if I had a shirt that was like rape chicks, sure, that's kind of ballsy.
That's pretty ballsy.
Yeah,
that's pretty. Well,
please explain to me the context of that shirt, right?
Yeah.
But it's like that was so many years ago, and now it's like way more relevant for that to occur. Like back then, it was shocking for me.
Yeah.
Now it's like I wouldn't be surprised if I wore it and someone's like, "Oh, yeah, that's offensive." It's like
that's
again the thing. How now all the people the monocle wearing old man and the lady clutching her pearls are now a green haired lady and a dude with like a nose ring.
Exactly. But the problem too.
How offensive! Like what?
The problem here for me anyway, being a minority, is that there's almost like the nerfing of the world is happening from people who are not. They're not living my experience.
No.
So a huge part of the problem for me is, look, I've dealt with this shit for a long time. I've been in industries where I've been the brown guy in the room. I've been in schools where I've been the brown guy in the school. And I've been in situations on a regular basis where I'm the only minority in the town. Like it just happens a lot. And then for me to say like, I toughen myself up. I know what I can do. I'm confident in who I am. Racism comes at me. I kind of let it go, whatever, and walk away. There's also people who don't handle when racism hits them, telling me that I should be more vocal about stopping racism, which also bothers me.
Literal people that are gonna tell you you're not doing enough.
Yeah, that happens.
Of all people.
That happens. I mean, I've had people tell me it's like you're too easy on it, and I'm like, I mean, you've been in places with me where I've smacked guys in the mouth for saying the wrong thing to me about the color of my skin. Like I threw a guy we knew down a flight of stairs because he asked who the brown guy was.
Yeah.
Like that's all he said to me. He's like, "Who's the brown guy?" And I was gonna throw that guy down a flight of stairs because he said it. So like, why do I have to there's the opposite side. Why do I have to prove how much of a minority I am and how much it hurts me? Like I do I carry this card, man.
And that's the thing is the people I find that are being the loudest about it and expecting everyone to contribute are ones that they hide in their house all the time anyway, or they avoid any kind of.
They have a hard time in the world to begin with.
Yeah, they're the ones that would rather have the entire world bubble wrapped for them instead of adapting to the world the way it is. I don't know.
But there is, and I know it because I feel it and I see it. There is also definitely a rise in like uppity fucking white people who think they can tell anybody who's not white what to do.
Now they're sick of it too. And it sucks because now the ones that normally would keep their mouths shut.
Yep.
Are now thinking it's an okay time for them to voice their insane opinions about stuff.
Yeah.
In that aspect too. And it's like you sound crazier than if you had said nothing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's an empowered
for you,
There's like an empowered white guy out there now who just feels like he can say and do whatever he wants because it's okay to point and that, like I know you said the shooting was the catalyst. The shooting wasn't the catalyst. The shooting was like the final straw on the camel's back. It's like this whole fucking year has not been easy.
I don't think I meant to say it was a catalyst. I'm just saying it's almost like the Asian hate thing kind of wasn't sexy enough.
Yeah.
So they needed to ramp up how much more attention it needed, and it was done in a really weird way, as opposed to just like maybe it should be addressed more properly. Like you don't need to you're gonna make a law. Asian hate's illegal.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna stop it.
Well, I'll tell you what too. Like from reading more about that particular incident, like that whole incident was handled so poorly too.
Well,
like it was handled so badly. The whole thing
is bad. Like, why aren't we looking at who was holding those women as sex slaves too?
Yeah.
Are they investigating the rub and tugs that they worked at?
But the problem is that's gonna take the story in the wrong direction.
Exactly.
That's not clickbait.
That's more important to me.
Yeah,
than
that's
this
not
crazy
clickbait.
Neckbeard that shot them.
Yeah. I mean it's not more important. It's equally as important. It has equal importance.
And you know what? Funny, I took a weird story arc with it in my head once, where I was like, what if it was one of those fucked up love stories where this little poor Asian sex slave and this total redneck neckbeard fall in love, and he decides, I'm going to go get my girl out of the rub and tug. Right?
It's true romance.
And he blasts through all these rub and tugs, and they inevitably, but then like his girl gets killed, and then he gets arrested, and then the rub and tug shoots a bunch of other chicks and makes it look like he killed everyone. And it's like I would love to find out it's like it was a true love story between a sex slave and this nerdy white guy. And
gross.
People's heads would have exploded.
Dude, could you imagine if 25, 30 years from now the story breaks that this guy was trying to get her out, and
she had his baby, like she was pregnant with his baby. In the
ensuing escape, the shootout happens, and bullets are just flying, and people are dying.
Yeah.
But
like a bunch of the prostitutes or whatever, the massage ladies got shot in the crossfire.
Good Lord.
And like some of the Johns did, but it was really him trying to save her, and he meant to just like get her.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing went south, and like he had guns because he's a crazy redneck, right?
Yep.
And the pimp dudes obviously have guns, and it was just a crazy true romance story. It would have been amazing.
The problem here is like all things are true. It's like you've got crazy people who have slaves, and then you've got incels who are nuts. Like the problem is like we live in such a weird time that all things are true at the same time.
Isn't that fucked up? That's what I look at too. Everything is a reality or a potential reality for everybody.
It's like you got something.
Sorry, just that being said, it reminded me. There's a meme where it shows Shaq and he's doing like a roller skate lineup with people and learning how to dance.
Oh no!
And it's great because it's like he finished his main storyline. Now he's just cleaning up all the side quests. He's just doing all this extra fun shit, right?
Oh, that's actually pretty good. Yeah.
Now he's doing roller skates. He's a DJ. He donates money. He's a business owner.
He finished the NBA story, and now he's doing all the side quests to power his character up.
Yeah, he's a sports commentator. Yeah, his main story was become like a great NBA All-Star guy.
Yes.
And now it's like, well, now I got to just like clean up the fetch quests.
Yes.
Like
I got to go do the follow quest, the fetch quest.
Everything can be a reality now.
No, that's the problem, right? And that's why I think we're in such a weird place with media. Like, and that's why I've shut all mine off. Like, I've shut everything down because the problem is
that investigative journalism report where basically the lady was slandering anti-government protests. In my eyes, that was enough for me to just like remove any kind of news updates from my YouTube channel now, because it's like they have a top news bar, and I used to check in on it, but now it's like this is all misleading information. I literally report news, like mainstream news now, on YouTube as misleading information.
Yeah, because a lot of it is, because you're not going to get...
But no one does it, and I bet you those reports go unnoticed. They're like, oh, no, that's the thousands of misleading report complaints we get on YouTube aren't real.
No, they're going to get noticed. They're going to get noticed the same way the weird right-wing shit gets noticed.
Isn't going to get blocked or shut down on YouTube.
No. CBC won't get blocked or shut down. The Fox News guys can say whatever they want. There's going to be a huge demographic watching them. They're going to have CNN says all their weird shit that doesn't make any kind of relevant sense anymore. The weird bleeding heart stuff. Like every news outfit now is a meme. It's like a meme waiting to happen.
And it's like they don't know what to do, so they jump on the meme train as well. Like a lot of people said their main way, like journalists now just go straight to Twitter to find something, and they don't do any fact checking. They just write an article and they copy paste the title. And
editors are dead. Like there's no more editors. Like there's nobody there to like check your work. It doesn't happen. Yeah. You just post it and it's gone. And if we get like a reaction, we get a reaction. I'll take a look at it later on.
Yeah, that's it. They don't have to be. You used to have to be accountable. It was illegal to post misleading information.
Yeah, not anymore.
And now it's like they can defend themselves for doing it. Like, you don't know what it's like to be a journalist.
But what about the guys in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s? Like, what about fucking the Watergate guys? The Bernstein. What you think these guys?
You know what? If that was nowadays, those guys would get looked at as nut jobs and conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, they were looked at as nut jobs.
Like government isn't corrupt.
Dude, they were looked at as conspiracy theorists then, until the shit that they wrote about turned out to be true. And then things came crashing down. Like all the Watergate.
Now it almost doesn't matter. Even if it is true, someone's like, no, it can't be. Like now it's like no one trusts any kind of like valid backup information. You can just discredit it somehow. Well, they work for blah, blah, blah. That must be why it's not true. Like, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. My problem is with everybody all the time, always. Like I don't trust or respect anybody's media point of view anymore. Like I look at Don Lemon, it's the same as Tucker Carlson. Like I see Don Lemon do his shit.
Dude, they're talking heads. That's why the term
he does
is so
the same thing as
used.
Tucker Carlson. Like I mean, they both give their stupid faces on their dumb screens, and they make these like weird, like emotional breakdowns. Don't make any nobody makes sense anymore. And there was a time, there was literally a time, I'll say 20 years ago, when both of those guys were probably like good-hearted journalists.
Yeah, that's fair.
Trying to make a difference, and then each one just went so far down a rabbit hole on both sides. Like, I see Sean Hannity. I'm like, I bet you 30 years ago, his intent, well, maybe Sean Hannity, he's kind of like a true believer. But you look at like guys like Carlson and whatnot, they don't seem like 20 years ago they were as true believery as they are now.
No, because they'll have some really good it's weird because sometimes he'll say something, like I've heard he says stuff that's like, wow, Tucker Carlson made a good point about the way that side of the government's fucked up. I'm like, okay, so occasionally he decides to take a good side or a good stance for once. But
that's worse to me, man. That's worse to me because that's no better than Glenn Beck. Remember Glenn Beck? He became like the Fox News version of Stephen Colbert, and it drove him crazy because he started to believe his own bullshit.
Yeah. Like now it's like the realities mix, and then their agendas don't add up, and it's it's like a guy who's been believing in the Bible for 50 years, and then he's like, there is no God. Like they fall apart, right?
Yeah.
These are faith healers that are on the news.
Yeah, man. And they're all such tough conversations.
That snakes won't bite you if you trust in God. Like.
Did you you still never got around to Justified, huh?
Justified.
A TV series you're talking about? Yeah, it's like a new Western.
Again, see, there's like a dozen shows that.
There's a great moment in that when you've got this kid who he's not a faith healer, but he's a snake handler. So like his whole thing is.
One sec.
Okay, we're gonna pause.
I want to hear the explanation here.
Yeah.
Just gotta grab something.
Grab what you gotta grab.
All right. Sorry. Okay, so there's a kid that's like, is he a snake charmer guy?
Yeah. So like his whole angle, he's this kid who's got a church. He's got like one of those tent churches.
Yeah.
Out in the middle of nowhere, and he's a snake handler. So he does his whole like Baptist thing where they all come out, they clap, they sing, they do their dances, and then he heals people. And then he picks up the snakes, and he believes that it's his grandfather had the power, his father had the power, he's got the power. He'll hold the snakes up, and he doesn't get bit, or if he gets bit, he doesn't die.
Right.
So, but meanwhile, his sister's been milking all the snakes while he's asleep. So she gets all the venom out. He doesn't even know. He has no idea. So then you've got
I thought they were like they both knew the scam, right?
Nah, man. So then you got the secondary main character who's like a villain, the villain of the show, Boyd Crowder. He brings a snake, like a rattlesnake, and he brings it to him. He's like, "Hey, man, in front of all these churchgoers, if you've got the power, well, you can take my snake and hold it up, and like maybe the good Lord's gonna save you." And he's like, "Well, I would do it. Maybe I'll do it." And his sister's trying to tell him like, "Don't." And then Boyd tells him like, "You should listen to your sister." Because she's had you fooled, because she's manipulated events to make you think that you're impervious to the snake bite. The kid ends up taking the snakes up in the air because he says like, no, my faith will save me. Even though that's bullshit and this is bullshit, my faith will save me. Holds the snakes up, he gets bit, he's dead. Because he chose to believe a narrative that had been spoon-fed to him without ever trying to think that maybe there's something else going on here. And that's my biggest takeaway from the whole thing, is we're all being told a narrative by one side or the other that, this guy is a bad guy, that's a good guy, that's a good guy, that's a bad guy. And nobody's trying to find out for themselves what the real story is. And you end up in these weird, like, psychological, like, cognitive dissonance loops. Like, all white guys are racist. All brown guys are soft-minded hippie liberals. If you're a minority, they have to believe that you have to fight for your right to freedom. But if you're like the majority, like a white guy, he's bad and he's going to keep you from getting your place in the world.
And if you're a white guy, you never had to deal with any bullshit before. Never. You never had hardship in your life. And that drives me bonkers. It's like, I'm never going to weigh someone else's fucking problems against mine.
Exactly.
But don't ever fucking tell me that I got my job at any job that I got was because I beat out a bunch of minority dudes.
Yeah, that's not real.
I'm getting more an hour because I'm white because that guy doesn't deserve it. And it's like, no, man, I've had every different minimum wage job 6 ways from Sunday.
No, that's like, entirely, that's another lie. The great lie that I think is being told with the, that's why I say it's not white privilege as much as it is a luxury. Like, you might have a luxury.
That makes a lot more sense to me. Calling it a luxury makes way more sense to me because look at where we live. Look at this. Like, I didn't grow up in Iraq.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have had white privilege in Iraq.
No. Well, that's true.
I don't think I would have been treated poorly. I think I probably would have just integrated into society because usually when you move to a foreign place or you're not from there, you just integrate because that's what makes sense to me.
Yeah.
When I go to Thailand, I don't expect them to treat me like a Canadian.
No. So here's how I used to break it down for people who kind of like wonder what I mean by that. If you're in a room and you've got 100 white guys in a room and you've got another guy comes in and he's number 101 and he's like a sharecropping white guy. Like, from a small town, Alberta, and he's a farmer, and you've got 100 bankers. That guy, even though you've got 100 guys who are bankers, when he enters the room, he is on the bottom of that list. Yeah. And they're going to treat him like he's on the bottom of that list. But the second a minority walks in that room, he is at the 100 level, and that minority is at the 0 level. And he'll eat shit.
And it sucks. Like, that's so true. Like, that's probably the best way to explain it. And it's like, but that's literally in North America.
Yeah, that's something
in more white-dominated cultures. But it would be the same way if I went to Thailand and there's the white guy in a room with 100 and like a lower-class Thai dude,
yes,
and high-class Thai people. They're still gonna be like, well, you're the foreigner.
Exactly.
So nothing ill will, but less trusting. And I'm like, sure, I don't care. Like, I'm the white guy.
It exists in Western cultures.
Yeah.
And the one thing people have to understand about that, though, is that perpetuates itself because of like all the power base that's existed in the world for such a long time. Like that needs to change. That's what has to change.
Yeah,
there's been a power base in the world
in general that makes the world go round. That does that, right?
That's what does that. And that's what has to be acknowledged by white people. That's it. Yeah. That's all that has to be acknowledged. Is that like...
Well, and it's like the problem I have with the white people that complain about it the most is they're like, it's almost as if you think that no other race in the world has created their own class system for each of themselves.
For sure. Look at the caste system in India, man.
But that's what I mean. It's like people are sitting here going, no, that's a white person.
No, it's
not.
We
don't hate each other. They don't. Every other race, like the extreme people that bother me, that are like, it's all white people's bullshit. It's like, man, there's tons of class systems, and in India, the caste system, and like, I'm sure in Mexico, there's rich Mexicans that think poor Mexicans.
The cartels, you mean?
yeah, like the cartels treating civilians like slaves and like toys to be played with. Like, why are white people the only people that hate everybody else when everyone hates each other more? It seems.
No, I've always
China,
said,
man, again, China, the way they treat all these different ways of treating people bad.
Dude, I say it to people all the time. Like, white people have fucked a lot of shit up, but racism isn't exclusive to white people against everybody else. Like, racism and classism.
I just want more discussion. I don't want people to I don't want to downplay it. Like, I hate how people take that kind of discussion and turn it into, well, you're racist because of it, instead of like, no, I want more open dialogue. I want you to understand that the bubble you're in is meaningless in the grand scheme of things, you know?
Yeah.
But again, it's like trying to change someone's faith. You can't. Like,
it's
almost impossible.
It's indoctrination.
They have to find it on their own.
Like, they're indoctrinated into an idea.
Yeah.
And it's like the second they, man, there's always that. I don't know if you've definitely, I know you've definitely noticed it. And it's something I think we've noticed because we were in an industry where we had to gauge people very quickly. Like, we had to judge people very fast, right?
Yeah, which also, it's almost like you get looked at differently for being too judgmental in your personal life. No,
hold on. Well, I'm getting to a thing here. So like, there's this thing that happens. Like, the second you kind of bring up a new point of view to somebody who doesn't want to accept that point of view because they've been indoctrinated, they'll look at you in a way and open their mouth because they're formulating a concept. And like, right away, you're like, that guy will never see it my way.
No.
And that's everybody now. That's what I meant by that thing. It's like, we kind of know that look. Like, I know you know that look too, because we've told people before, like, hey man, like, you can't come in wearing that shirt, or, you know, you can't be doing what you're doing.
It's the dog head turn.
Yeah, it's a little head turn and a mouth open, and you can see their wheels start turning, and they'll never see it your way. Like, they'll never see it from your perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. And that's the
whole, like, when I brought up there's only winning an argument and not winning an argument.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
When you're not going to win the argument.
You're not going to win it because to them it's binary.
You weren't even able to just trick them long enough to get them back out the door.
Yeah.
You know. Like,
yeah. Yeah, for sure. And that's
so baffled. They're like, oh, maybe I am wrong. No, not me.
It's not me. It's them. It was always them. I was never wrong. It was always them. I was never wrong. God damn. Yes. That's a lot of. That was a heavy discussion today.
Yeah, sorry, man. I don't know. I was really enjoying the pop culture shit, and then we used conspiracies to turn into rants.
Wow, you were pretty fired up today, buddy.
Yeah, and you know what I hate, but I think I was more fired up that it made me mad that I enjoyed the show, but it had such a glaring flaw in my eyes, right?
I think this is like, even after we've talked about it for like almost like an hour and a half, whatever it is, I feel like from what I've seen is that there is a finger point going on that you feel is aimed at you, and a lot of that kind of
I almost feel like I'm wrong for taking it personally, and I have to learn not to, because I know that it's not. I don't get attacked.
It's not you.
Don't get attacked.
Yeah, it's not you.
I do think I take it a bit personally, but in recent times, it's been more close to home, right? Mm-hmm. Like I told you, I had somebody about asking me to do security for a group that has basically shunned my type of person.
Yeah, but they want you as a flag.
And then they ask for help from me against people that are shunning them actually, or they think are going to. I'm like, well, now I'm pissed off, and I want to tell you how I feel about that.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna, because that's not necessary. And then even just recently now, just the inundation of, we need to be more blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, aren't I already? Are you? You don't need to post that. I don't think you're racist. Like,
yeah, man, that's the problem, right? It's like,
I think I'm taking it personally. I think I need to rise above that.
Yeah, you definitely need to, because it's not you.
Yeah.
And I can say that. Like, I've got friends who, like, I've got a lot of white friends. I've got a lot of white friends. I've got a lot of white friends.
Saber, you don't need to white shame, or what is it? What is it when dudes say they got black friends?
Oh, when they try to, like,
friends.
I got a lot of black friends. Like, don't shame me. I got black. No, but, like, I have a lot of white friends who feel the same way, and I always try to make the same point to people who, and there are ones who understand. Like, there's guys like you who are like, the finger's not being pointed at you. It's just there's a problem with people who look like you. It's like, look, man.
It's being thrown like this, and it's hard to avoid it.
All we're not saying all white people are racist. We're just saying all white supremacists are white. That's it. That's all we're saying.
And I love that use. It's almost a meme.
Yes.
But it's so rational.
Yeah.
Like, the memes are going to save us.
Man,
I think they're really going to save us.
The memes are going to save us. That's all I want. Like, I wish that more people would understand that, because that's the most true thing, I think, that somebody can say about racism. I don't know if I invented it, but I definitely say it a lot. I'm not saying
white supremacists are white. No, it's not all Trump supporters are racist, but all racists are Trump supporters.
Yeah, that's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, but even that can go a certain way. Like, maybe some guys are Mitt Romney guys. They just don't like black people.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Or maybe some of them like Andrew Yang. I don't know. Like,
who knows, right? Maybe they're...
I also heard that too, that there are people, anti-Asian hate people, who think that Andrew Yang is a racist apologist.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, I think they're trying to slander him because he's pushing for mayor in New York, which sucks, because I would have voted for Andrew Yang for president if I had the opportunity. That guy's fucking clever as shit.
He's a sharp dude. He's a really sharp dude.
He finds really passive aggressively intelligent ways to debate people, and the people he's debating aren't intelligent politicians, right? Yes. So they're Andrew Cuomo, for Christ's sakes. They're a freaking mobster,
Yeah. He's
I'll just fucking kill you, bro. It's like,
a Jersey gangster. He's just like a wannabe Jersey gangster. Not even a real Jersey gangster, like a wannabe Jersey gangster.
But yeah, you're right. It's like, it's not all white people are racist, but all white supremacists are white.
Yeah, that's all we're saying, man. Except for what?
Clayton Bigsby.
Clayton, yeah, the one black guy. But that's the issue. It's like, there is gonna always be that thing where if you're a minority in a room full of white guys, you'll always be the odd man out. That's just the truth of it. But I don't think it always.
But then it comes down to is like what happens. Like, what I think people's next step when they're too invested is that once we establish there's only one minority in that room, they all become racist towards him.
Yeah,
but I think that's the natural progression. Is like, in a room full of white guys, there's one brown guy, they all become racist towards the brown guy.
And that's not true at all.
No, it's not. No. That's insane. That'd be like they wouldn't be able to walk down the street.
No. Yeah, for sure. Now, what I will say is the likelihood of that person having an equal treatment will be lower, for sure, because he's different. See, this is the thing, right? If you've got that guy, you got cops outside. The hell's that all about?
No, so here's the thing, bud. I got a fucking neighbor with a Tesla.
Okay.
And for some reason, they turn it and park it backwards sometimes.
Uh-huh.
And their headlights blink at night for some reason.
No, I've seen that, dude. Yeah, it's like when somebody walks by, I think the lights flash.
Yeah, it's honestly, it happened. It's happened a number of times, and it hasn't happened in a while, but I honestly wanted to do something about it.
Oh God, don't do it.
And not in a bad way, but I was almost like, I'm gonna leave a note and be like, hey, do you not want to? Why do your car lights flash? Because I don't know which apartment they live in, but it lights up my whole apartment.
It's pretty bright.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sitting here looking at you.
Headlights doing this every once in a while.
Yeah, I'm on the screen, and it's like it's pretty bright.
And I have no idea why.
Damn.
And it like. The first time it happened, it was actually during my heroic dose, and I had a very long discussion with myself about doing something that instinctively I would have done, and not doing something. I was honestly, I had a can of spray paint in my house, and I was just going to go spray paint out the headlights.
Yeah, don't do it.
And just be like, you can afford new ones.
Yeah, you've got to test them.
Don't fucking. Why is your car battery dying? Is that why the lights flash?
Like, not to talk shit about your neighborhood, but like a guy with a Tesla in that neighborhood's kind of weird.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think they own the building. That's why.
Oh, could be. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
but
it's like, why do you turn it? Why do you park it backwards sometimes? Does it need to charge? And if it's charging, why are the headlights blinking every 20 minutes?
That is really weird. Yeah, I don't like that.
So anyway, we'll see how I feel about that later, but I feel like it's not really a good idea to react to it. I might leave a note and be like, hey man, why can you elaborate on why you're basically illuminating one side of our building with your car every other night? Like,
you should just start calling in random police complaints about it getting broken into. Lights keep flashing.
Yeah, it's like, I think a car alarm keeps, I think someone keeps breaking into this Tesla.
Yeah, this Tesla's lights keep flashing. I think somebody keeps breaking into it. Like multiple police reports. And then eventually it's just like, I'm just not going to park it anymore.
They just get sick of me calling, and they go to the guys like, hey, what the fuck is with your car? We keep getting phone calls.
Fucking guy. Oh, good Lord.
So man, I think you touched on a lot of that makes quite a bit of rational sense in that. And yeah, I know, I think I need to take it less personally. It's just become way closer to me, though. Usually I can just let everyone be crazy outside of my bubble. And
yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I was saying, right? I mean, I've got a lot of friends, like a lot of white friends, who feel victimized by things they just kind of used to offhandedly say without realizing.
Or never did before, and now it's like, I feel like I have to feel guilty for people that are doing it, even though I've never done it. Like, again, I had tons of friends that would say things are gay or use the word fag all the time.
Yeah.
And I never was like, hey, that's offensive. I was just like, I don't use it that way.
That's not my thing.
No, and I never had to correct my friends because I didn't get it. They want to say it, that's them. Like, I never gave a shit. But, like, I also know that I don't think that word means that.
Yeah.
And I knew that it was like, to me it's wrong, but I just was like, I'm not them.
Yeah, that's not your cup of tea, man.
Yeah. And so I don't need to tell them how to live their lives. That's another thing. Is like, how does any human get to dictate what any other human does in their life?
Yeah, that's a big part of it, right? Everybody wants to dictate. Nobody wants to suggest that you're ignorant. Everybody wants to call you a racist and tell you to stop.
Yeah, I need you to know that you aren't being as good as me.
Yeah,
like,
that's
where
what
you're
it
going
is.
to have a problem.
And like that, I think that's a big part of it. I think the biggest issue, I think, in the world right now when it comes to racism and cancel culture and consequence culture, whatever it is that there's too many people out there who are just kind of ignorant, but they get called out as being piece of shit racists.
Yeah, they throw way more of a label on them than they even are aware of, and then obviously they'll get defensive because you should defend yourself. You should stick up for yourself in any situation, right? Like, people, man, we have a friend that he looks at. There's a movie he looked at, I think, the completely wrong way, where he thinks he likes the quote from Pulp Fiction where what's his name is talking to Butch about how your pride is like bad for you, how having pride.
Oh yeah. How it fucks with you? That's your pride fucking with you.
That sting you're feeling, that's your pride fucking with you. Fuck pride. It's like, fuck pride. I said, do you take pride in anything you do? Well, yeah. I was like, so why would you fuck pride? He's like, well, because in the situation, his pride got him into trouble. I'm like, no, his pride got him to take the fight and plan the whole situation the way he wanted to.
Yeah.
His pride as a boxer. What's his name? The gangster was trying to. What's that?
Marcellus Wallace wanted him to take a dive for him.
Yeah. And he was trying to downplay. It's like, no, you gotta understand, pride's bad for you. Your pride's bad for you. You just want to take this money and take a dive and relax.
No, man. No, man.
But can you believe that there's a person out there that actually thinks what Marcellus Wallace is telling him is the correct? That's how he interpreted that whole scene? Okay,
let me just ask you real quick. Like, do I already know who this person is? Like, I've already pictured. Yeah, I know who it is. But that's the thing. That's youth, right?
What?
I think that's like youth filtering it the wrong way.
But how do you misinterpret something so bad, and then you think in real life, like, you can take that misinterpretation and apply it to real life, but only because you think that the word pride has to be associated with racism.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yes.
Oh yeah, no. That's not what that is at all.
Like, he took that and he's like, well, because like pride, like being proud of something is like, it's like you shouldn't be proud of stuff, or like pride is like a trick. It's like a way to, just like your brain tricks you. It's like, what are you talking about? I was like, do you not take pride in this? You do this really well, and you're not proud that you did it.
Oh,
I take pride in all the hard work I put into anything.
Yeah. No, he doesn't understand.
Like, oh, wow.
Like, he doesn't understand what pride. He doesn't understand what the actual meaning of pride is.
Well, yeah, and I just thought, no, Marcellus Wallace is the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like he's a manipulator, and he totally fucks over Marcellus Wallace, and then even though he was horrible to him, he saves his life.
Yeah.
He's proud. His pride got him through that entire fucking thing.
Yeah, he's that. Well, that is the narrative of that story. That's the theme of that story.
He was willing to risk everything for a fucking watch, right? Like all that stuff reflects when he's like, no. The moral of the story is that if you'd have just taken the money, your life would have been fine.
No, man. You'd have bent over for everybody.
That's the coward's way out.
Yeah, you'd bend over for everybody. The second you do that, you are bending over for everybody.
Yeah, You didn't let anybody rape you.
Well,
that's what he just basically told him. Yeah,
exactly.
And then he saved Marcellus Wallace from literally getting raped.
We had a friend of a friend always give me heat for why, like, there was an incident that happened in a Shoppers Drug Mart. So I'm walking into a Shoppers Drug Mart. It's me and my mom. I'm taking her to get.
There was an incident in a Shoppers Drug Mart.
In a Shoppers Drug Mart. So I'm walking in there with me and my mom, and she walks ahead of me a little bit because like that was when they had the swinging doors kind of thing. Okay. And the lineup for the shoppers kind of comes. It was a weird setup, so it would come across the doorway. So when you walk in, you're perpendicular to the lineup of people buying their groceries.
Okay.
So it was a weird setup. So we're walking in, I see this dude, and I just like, in my head, all the data just kind of like pinged him. Like, just like, this guy's, something's going to happen here. Yeah. And as my mom is walking towards him, I'm going to tell you straight, he's like a big white guy. He steps backwards. He makes eye contact with me and my mom, and then he steps backwards and gets in her way. So I'm like, what the fuck was that?
You thought she was going to take his spot in line?
No, he just got in her way as she's walking in through the doors. So, you know me, I mean, I'm kind of a dumpster fire. So I just kind of reach over, I grab his back, and I just give him a nice stern shove forward. Nothing hard, but I just make room because that's my mama. So I give him a good stern move forward. He kind of turns. I
feel like he would have done that for his mom.
Probably, but like there was eye contact made. Like it wasn't like he mistakenly stepped back.
I just mean, you know, like you doing that because it's your mom. Yeah. I feel like he would have done that for his mom.
Very likely.
If you decided to be ignorant, you know, like
just being an asshole. Like, I mean, I don't know what his motivation was, but he's just being an asshole in my eyes anyway. Yeah. So I kind of make him move forward a little bit, and then that's kind of for me the end of it. I'm walking away. He turns and yells, "Don't ever fucking touch me again." So I say,
I love when people do that because it's like they have it's you know how people that actually are like have a mental disorder where they can't be touched or whatever?
Yeah.
But everybody has it, and it's like, no, you're okay, bud.
You're fine, pal. You're okay. All I did was turn and say, "Yo, princess, I'm never gonna fucking see you again," and I walked away. That was it. Now we had a friend of a friend who you know. I'm not gonna drop a name because like you know he's already gone through this with me a couple times. But he's like, "Why do you always do that though? Like, why do you always make that extra point?" I'm like, because if I let him get away with that with me, he's gonna get away with it with somebody else or try it with somebody else.
Well, that's his little confidence boost for the day.
Exactly,
right?
that's his little thing.
Kind of blowback from being an asshole.
That's right. So the second you see that shit happen, it's gonna get you in trouble every now and then. Maybe it will. Maybe he steps up and does something. Who knows, right? But at the same time, if I let him get away with that with me, maybe I let somebody else get away with that with me as well. Or maybe I let him like bully me into submission for whatever reason. It ain't ever gonna happen, but who knows? Yeah. But then he keeps doing that to other people who he thinks he can get away with it with. So you've got to kind of like, you got to stop that behavior. It's like fucking dog whisperer shit. You have to stop that behavior before it becomes a problem. I got to stiz neck a little bit.
Well, like people that think, like the thing is in the end, I shouldn't say in the end, but like maybe he just thinks, okay, this is fine to do. And the wrong person is off hinged and they do something awful to him. And he gets like, he's a regular, again, like dudes that are regular guys that go to the bar and then end up leaving with like their faces totally rearranged.
5,000%
that night, and it's like you have a day job, man. You got to go to work and tell everyone that these fucking bouncers jumped me. I'm like, no, man. Like,
no, man.
You made us. You took it this far.
Yes.
Right. You took it this far. We don't wait around to rearrange people's faces. We want to do nothing all night.
I want to stand there. I want to stand there and do fucking nothing. Like when I go to
an envelope and a beer and I want to fucking leave. Yes. I don't want to fight you. I don't want to fill out incident reports. Nobody gets that.
No, man.
So when you're getting your face rearranged, it's because the guys doing it are thinking about all the bullshit they have to deal with.
Yeah.
Because of you.
Exactly right. That's exactly right.
When you're in a Shoppers Drug Mart and you want to lift somebody off because you think it's the tough guy thing to do, you got to go to work with a limp for the rest of your life. That's your problem.
That's your problem, man. The thing is, like, I've always said that. Like, we've been doing that. We have, man. I know I shit on people a lot for being like the party time bouncers and whatever, but like we've been doing this job a long time. And it's been knives, it's been guns, it's been punches, it's been rocks, it's been bricks.
Just unhinged people. Like,
and I'm still here. Like, I'm still here. What makes you think you're going to be the first guy to get one over on me? Like, you're walking with a permanent limp, pal. Like, that's just the way it is.
And like being out now too, it's more just like I'll avoid what I can, but also knowing how I have to deal with the situation. And it's like, well, I don't have 5 bouncers around anymore.
No.
So now I have to be concerned myself with how do I deal with this without like dying or getting hurt.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, and for me, it's always, and I mean, not to go back to the whole idea of like being a minority walking around the planet, but at the same time, like I've had that thing in my head where like we talked about last time too, where as a bouncer, we're always in the situation where they're trying to kill you. That's just how it is.
Dude, well, and even so, that's the thing, as a minority, what I've noticed is that if there's like 3 white bouncers and a minority bouncer, the white guy immediately directs all of his anger at the minority guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Even if you didn't have any, even if you were just the backup, and I was literally the guy kicking him in the ball.
Story of my life.
Yeah, the minority guy's getting yelled at first.
Always.
And it's so funny because I'm always like, ooh, like, what did he just got here, man? Look at me, like, look at me. He just got here.
Do you remember the one that I went to court for when me and Luke go to court?
Yeah,
I had a guy.
One of them.
I wasn't even in one of them. I wasn't even involved in the situation.
Yeah.
2 guys got kicked out. They go downstairs. The one guy wants his hat back. I go upstairs, get his hat. I bring it out, and I hold my arm out. And he tells me, "You're going to fucking come here and give me my hat." So I threw it at him. I'm like, I'm not going to walk over there. I just toss it at him.
No, fuck him, yeah.
Like, I don't even know what the...
I've thrown shit into the street when we used to work there.
Yeah, no, I threw this to his chest. Like, I thought I was going to catch it.
I've thrown a guy's wallet out into the fucking road. Be like,
for sure.
You want me to come over and give it to you? And I throw it away.
Lob it. So I kind of...
You going to fight me first, or you going to grab your wallet?
I toss it at him. It bounces off his chest and hits the ground, and he balls up his fist like a pitcher, like a fastball pitcher, and he runs at me. And then he smacks me like square in the mouth, and then he, like, he thought he won this fight. So he's immediately like, yes. I'm like, what do you mean yes? So I Darth Vader him. I just reach in and grab the guy. In his mind, he's got that 5,000% thing going on, right? Like his abilities.
Man, he knocked you into the sun.
Oh yeah, I was gone. I was like up the stairs, out cold, tits up, crying like a baby. But meanwhile, now he's getting cheese grated against the brick because like I think I'm cut and I'm pissed. You know, it's like that's just what happens. Like you've got that, and I'm the only brown guy in a group of white guys, and I had nothing to do with that situation.
No, exactly. You're the last guy to give him lip, and like so that's the guy that he's gonna remember.
It happens, man. It's
like someone else could have been beating on him for 10 minutes, and then when he got up and dusted himself off, you threw his hat back, so you're the bad guy.
Oh God, we had a great one when I was still at a different bar, where we had this huge skirmish breakout because one of our guys got spat on, and it went like in his mouth, so we all kind of like had to grab a guy.
Oh, yeah.
Because we didn't know, we had no idea what this guy's medical history was, so now we're gonna grab this one dude. Fight breaks out. I come down the stairs after the code gets called, and then we have another guy who you know well, large man covered in tattoos, and he's gonna grab a kid, and he's decided he was a little unhinged. He's decided that's it. I gotta smoke this one dude who's in the middle of a fight. I'm standing in front of the guy who's about to get hit. That guy gets hit. He comes back the next day and tells everybody that I'm the one that hit him.
Yeah.
So like now we got to go to the tapes, and I'm the only dude who came down, but because I'm the only one he saw, and I look different than everybody else, I'm the guy that punched him. Yeah,
and that's the one thing, man. I always see that if it was any bar I worked at, the minority guy was the first one they'd look at, and it's like, oh Jesus, like that to me again, it's like, well, if anybody's not racist, it's the bouncers because they're going to work with a minority group in their group. Like, how do you call a bouncer racist when he works with a native guy and a brown guy and a black guy? And
now, granted though, man, like our crew was tight. Like we've been together for almost 20 years, man. Like we've been together a long time.
Yeah, and that's true. Like you guys were together before I even jumped in, and then the On the Rocks thing that we were at was like a good, that was like, well, a good 4 years for me of like the same crew of guys, right? So a
good tight crew.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's I think we're not biased, but we're not jaded, but we built ourselves such a good bubble that we don't see the problems other people might go through.
Yeah.
Because we're a good team.
I don't feel jaded anymore. Not as much as I used to. But I think there's a lot of other factors that accounted with that. But I do,
for sure.
I just remember like knowing genuinely that I disliked humans, like people, because the majority of the ones I dealt with were never good. Like the volume was off. Like it was 90% bad, 10% good, and I had only that to rely on for like 12 years.
It was the worst.
The 10% good was the ones that I worked with, right? It wasn't. Let's say 9% good, 1% stranger good, like 90% bad. 9% was my coworkers. 1% was like the random guest that was a nice person at a bar.
Yeah, who was decent.
Yeah,
who came in like just to have a good time.
Yeah, and we're like blah blah blah, or like a thankful customer, or just that they weren't there to do anything wrong, and then the majority of them were just like, well, we're cleaning puke off of you, or you're loud and mad at us, or like it was just you hate people so quickly for doing that job. Isn't that fucked up? Like,
well, Dan, I got to tell you, that's the world now. That's everybody now.
Yeah.
So what did we learn today, buddy? What was our moral? What was our takeaway?
I learned that I should appreciate a show for its quality and not the laziness of other aspects that it
yes. Well, also, I think you got to take things less personally.
Oh, dude, yeah. I know. I every time I do, I'm like, God, why do I do that? Like, it's always like immediate reflection of my thoughts, and it's frustrating. So, like, well, if I feel that way afterwards, why can't I just stop the idea from getting into my brain?
Well, it's hard.
If I'm fourth wall cognizant of it, why am I allowing it to happen?
Not to drag it further, but I think it is difficult because out of most of the guys I know, I would say the group, like our core group, I know not to be shitty, but I also know that they feel like the world thinks they're shitty.
Yeah.
So it has to be hard for you guys as well. It's not because like you're being looped into the group, and that's gotta suck.
Well, it's so ridiculous that you even have to consider it. I've never in my life, in my entire life, have I ever had to consider that I'm going to be disliked.
Yeah.
And it's like welcome to my world for people that have been like in those situations. But I'm like, no, but you can point out the bad aspects of why someone is racist.
Yes. For
someone to be like, you deserve to know what it's like because of what happened before doesn't make sense to me, right?
But at the same time, in a weird roundabout way, welcome to my world, Dan.
Well, yeah.
I mean, the pressure that you're feeling
but
is exactly what we're like.
You aren't doing it, and I'm not getting hated. Like, it's not white people being hated by minorities.
Yes.
It's other white people telling white people they suck, and it's like, that's not how this is supposed to work.
Yeah, so I'll clarify down more than that. I don't think it's necessarily other white people. I think it's the Western world. I think, like, Western-born people.
Western culture deciding that it needs to make a shift, and instead of shifting to just non-racism, they shift to angry blame racism on another group, when all the minority groups are like probably like they aren't going welcome to my world, but they're not like take that either, you know? Like I don't think the brown guys running around telling me like take that white guy.
I mean, you know too also is like there is I think the thing is like people who are minorities just want to be validated that we've had a rough go at it. That's it.
They just want they want to know they can just do normal shit. They don't want to have any special treatment, but they also want people to understand that it does suck for us.
It fucking sucks. It does, and it does. Like openly, I'll tell you. Like being a minority is not. It's not like I'm just walking on the street every day normal. It's not like because we live in a multicultural society.
Yeah.
That like it's just it's easy.
You can go anywhere else in the world and it's not either. Maybe Europe, but like or like the UK. But you don't go to Iraq and the Middle East and it's very multicultural there. And they don't need it.
I'm not there, so who gives a shit?
Yeah.
You know, like number one, I'm not there. I just want like here's the thing. For us, we all meme joke aside about the white supremacists and all that kind of stuff. All that aside, it's just a matter of like when you're from your own country that you're born in, and then somebody does the go back to your own country shit, or like you know, like I'm like first generation born, but I know people who are first generation fucking Ukrainians, and like nobody's gonna tell them to go back to their own country.
No, and that's the thing is like. That's the blatancy that anybody would be able to point out.
Yeah.
Is any like and it's annoying that it happens because it's like if you had a 16-year-old white kid tell you to go back to your country, it's like I was living here longer than you've been fucking alive.
Exactly. You weren't even fucking jizz.
Like, you fucking ignorant moron. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But that's definitely a very clear version of where the ignorance is.
Yes.
But
that's not everybody. That's not you.
Yeah. No, but exactly. And you can directly point out to somebody that doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
Because it's like their parents also emigrated here.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. It's just, that shit pisses me off too. But at least it's so blatant that it's like, no, what are you, nuts? Like, who would say that? Like,
yeah, those are things that bother me. Like that kind of shit. Like I know we've got some people, we're just dragging it on, but like the Don Cherry thing too. Like the fucking... Like, honestly, like, that bothers me. Like, the Don Cherry thing bothers me because first and foremost, like, fuck that guy for his weird old man point of view. But also, like, fuck the CBC for not making him do an apology tour. Because I think they could have learned something. He could have gone to minority communities. He could have talked to people. And they could have come to an understanding. Like, what did you mean by it? Oh, I didn't mean...
Are you telling me there weren't minorities that were fans of his because they were just hockey fans?
Yeah, for sure.
Before all that?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So what the hell would you like, dude? You probably have fans that you could talk to, and maybe that would be the fourth wall breaking for him. Is he'd have some brown family that loves him.
That's all he had to do.
Why would you say that about us? He's like, well, fucking. What do you mean?
Yeah, but instead he just doubled down. Like that's what bothered me about it. Like he had such a great opportunity. Like that could have been like a fucking amazing opportunity for an old man to sit down and say like, hey, maybe I said something that touched people. And maybe I'll talk to like the Sikh community. I'll talk to the Chinese community. We'll all have this whole little sit down, and we'll all look really good because I took the time to learn.
Prove that there are hockey fans in those communities.
Yep.
That don't sit there and go, fucking, there's this racist white guy, but now they will because of what you said.
Exactly.
But up until that point, they probably weren't like, fuck this racist white guy.
Nobody was,
Don
man.
Cherry, he's a hockey guy, you know, like, and he could have went and done that. And and again, it's the worst part is he didn't just not apologize, he doubled down. You can not apologize because, nowadays it's like if you apologize for things, you're fucked. Like, not in that sense, but, the people that don't apologize seem to recover better, but he was like, I'm going to just place more on that.
Exactly. And the worst part is he didn't need to quote unquote apologize. All he had to do was say, like, maybe I said something that came across the wrong way.
Yeah.
And then 10-part CBC documentary all summer long. He's with like minority communities, and he comes across looking like a fucking hero.
Not rural, but like goes and visits communities all over Canada or some shit, and have a big hockey party with them. And don't even go down and be like, listen, guys, I'm sorry what I said. Just go and let him experience minority cultures liking hockey.
Right.
Because that's pretty fucking normal, especially in Edmonton. You know, like it's not uncommon to see minorities wearing hockey jerseys now. It's not like they all like soccer and fucking rugby. Like,
no, man. I mean, like, I'm a brown guy with a brown family, and my brown family loves hockey.
Yeah, exactly. So,
like, it happens.
Yeah, it was and I don't know, maybe that, you know what, I think the CBC was just like, fine, we have a way to get rid of this old piece of shit.
Yeah,
they want to help fix it. They just wanted to pin it on him and get him out of there,
That's wrong too, man, because they dropped the ball on that.
And I bet that was, I feel like that was almost the worst part is Don Cherry probably doubled down because he's like, fuck the CBC.
Yeah.
And then that's not the right choice to make, but his choice was to double down because of the CBC making the decision they made.
It could have been. I just feel like
just make them look more racist.
Every single person involved in that situation came across shittier for it.
Yeah.
Like right down from the CBC to Don, like everybody involved in that situation came across shittier because they couldn't just sit down and talk to each other.
Yeah.
That really annoyed me.
Out in a better way, and it's too knee jerk, and there's too much like human resources stuff involved in these decisions now. So
such crap.
You bubble wrap them instead of like addressing weird topics. Like,
hey, let's just fucking stop that part of the thing. You know what? Let's just we're just gonna circle jerk that.
Really
instead,
went, like, angry negative shit today.
Instead,
and I wasn't even in a bad mood.
no, we're in a fine mood. Let's do this to make it a better mood before we shut the whole thing down. You have got a barbershop, pal.
Dude, yeah, it's so weird.
No, but it's good. I could not be happier. Like, you've got a really nice little place. We were there yesterday taking some photos. I'll send those to you later on. But man, it's a nice, real, tangible, sit down and get your hair cut properly barbershop.
Yeah, but that's why I say it feels weird, because it's like, it's tangible. It's not just like a half-ass idea. I'm not just doing it out of my house. Like, even if I had a business license at my house and it was totally legit and everything, and I had clients, it still wouldn't feel as real as the fact that I have a place that I go to that I have to work on. And like, I'm learning how to teach myself to time my posts, like, for social media, and like I'm really motivated. I'm motivated because I feel like I don't have any restrictions.
Yes.
Because I don't have to worry about someone else's image.
Yeah.
And it's in regards to trying to drum up my own business.
Yeah, it's your image on your business.
Yeah, and it's like and all I really need to worry about is that it's the work that proves it's worth what it is. But then my hard work on the other, like the other aspect of it.
Yeah.
It's rewarding. It's rewarding because I'm not doing it for another person, right?
Yeah, it's for you, and it's good.
Yeah, like I feel like if I was to work where I was at the time, I would have been stifled, and I was not motivated. Again, not motivated at all to use social media to represent myself there. I had no reason to do so.
But here, now, it's your own thing.
I'm not gonna lie. This might be kind of a weird, like, egotistical thing, but I had all their social media on my social media before I started this.
Yeah.
And the posts that they were making were not as frequent as they are now.
Oh, get out of town.
So I'm wondering if maybe because I am posting daily my hours, my haircuts, my promo, making sure I'm staying relevant, and I'm seeing every day I see more and more updates and different updates and styled updates from the same people that wouldn't even post once a week.
They're totally doing it because of that. 100%.
So, and I'm almost secretly feel like they're looking at it and going, well, fuck, where was this guy like a month ago?
For sure.
And
no,
like,
absolutely.
Well, we better start posting more. But I mean, it's kind of egotistical, I think, to think that. But I noticed the difference.
No, that
I had
happens.
them on social media for 3 months, and I never saw the same post they do now.
It totally happens. It absolutely
in the last
happens.
2 weeks.
No, there are people out there who will be lazy at what they do until they see one of their peers who's on their level suddenly go beyond their level. Then they step up their game.
It's like, and you know what, man? Spite is a motivator. It's a hell of a motivator, right?
Spite is a hell of a motivator.
And I've used it myself.
Yes.
But I know that right now, spite is not my motivation for this job.
No. No, that's not good.
And I'm glad. And like, it's not my motivation to do more posts and to learn how to be better at being a solo business owner guy. Not business owner, solo entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur. I will tell you, I knew that you were like, it was a legit, serious, real thing when we were booking a haircut the other day to do the photo shoot for Raj. And you're like, actually, let me give myself some buffer time. Like you were scheduling to give yourself cleanup time. Like you weren't just booking at 4, then booking at 4:15, then booking at 4:30. You were booking at 4, and then at 4:30, because you needed time to like clean your shit. Like to have the place tidy up.
10 minutes for that, but
still, there's like,
I wanted that. Yeah,
there's like a cyclical thing. Like when you organize your day for your business, you're not just running by the seat of your pants here. You actually have like a system.
Yeah,
like in the place where you work.
And I got to remember too, I have no There's obviously been days when I will only have one haircut, and there's also days I haven't had any haircuts.
Yep.
And I'm not like, oh well, it's pretty slow, and I peace out and go home. I want to stay there and just wait it out and read and like maybe do some social media crap that I need to. Like, I'm not making any money in those hours.
But
right? I'm not working.
You're putting in the time.
But it's mine. I have to be there. And I don't understand why anyone would think of that in any other way. And now at this point, because it's in the same building I work my other job, I'm literally there 4 days a week, about 16 hours a day.
That's a lot. That's a lot of time.
Funny, but it's like, I don't know. What does it matter? I get to listen to the music I like. Like if I want to put a TV in there and just have like anime or whatever, put whatever I want on. I don't have to think like, I love when you work for a business owner and they're like, no, you got to have this on the TVs because that's what people like. It's like, you did what study to find out that that's what is the most successful for your business?
Yeah.
Where did you find that?
Nowhere.
You made that up. Or like bars that always play sports highlights when it's like more people will sit and watch movies than sports highlights that play every 35 minutes. And
put Die Hard on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, put Die Hard on the screen and not the sports highlights I can look up.
Put Batman on the screen, put an old comedy on the screen. You can put Old School on 3 times in one night and no one will care.
No, that's fine. Nobody's going to give a shit.
That's what I'm saying, but it's like, no, sports highlights or the right music has to play, the right kind of music. You're not a fucking genius. Like, you're just a business owner.
You're locked into an identity that you've been sold as propaganda.
Yeah. And like, it's this way or nothing works. It's like, oh my God, man, how come nobody just does what they want?
Okay,
instead just do what you want.
Hold on, stop shitting on those people for no reason. Promote your business. Promote your business, damn it. So wait, okay.
Sorry, yeah. So it's actually Handsome Dan. Like my shop is Handsome Dan's, or I guess Handsome Dan. It's me, right?
Yeah.
Like if I did a real shop, I'd want to call it Handsome Dan's.
For sure.
Obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, man, it's at the Evolve Gym now, and it's awesome. I love doing that. I just love the idea that I really envision myself that by the end of the summer, I'm just going to be too busy to even think.
Yeah,
and
man.
I'm so excited about that.
No, it's rad.
Like, I would love
pretty
to
cool.
work 16-hour days cutting hair because I gotta fit everyone in.
Yeah, man. Well, I remember like the first time when you finally like popped it open, you were saying if I get one haircut a day, I'll be good. And then like I called you up and you're getting like 3 or 4 a day now. Yeah,
and man, this is really weird. This also is kind of like on a weird existential level, but the one day I didn't have any haircuts.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone asked me, and for some reason I was embarrassed that I didn't have any haircuts. So I'm like, oh yeah, but I don't have any until later in the day today.
Yeah.
And then what happened later in the day, I got 2 haircuts back to back after 6 p.m.
Not bad.
So did my lie put out a thing? Or,
no, man.
Like, and they were both like short notice haircuts. Like one was a walk-in that I had to book in a half hour, and the other one was, hey, I'm coming down today. Can I get my haircut? But they were just so short notice, hours after I had resigned myself to feeling that I wasn't going to get any haircuts, but had lied. Right? So it's did I manifest those?
No, I think what happened was the universe is like, I'll show him.
Yeah.
The universe is like, I'll show him.
Like, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. And the universe is like, oh, you want haircuts? I'll get you some fucking haircuts.
Yeah, you got some time, do you? Not anymore.
Got some free time, boy? I'll get you some haircuts.
Got some free time, boy?
Yeah.
Not anymore, you don't.
The universe is fucking with me in a great way.
Oh, for sure. Oh, that's great, man. I'm really glad it's working out because it's a nice little spot. Like, it's actually, we should mention, it's Evolve Strength on the south side of Edmonton.
Yep.
Like off 91st and not 91st.
It's 89th Street. So the address for it's like in a big not in a big industrial complex, but those mezzanine warehouse style machine shop areas that you see everywhere. There's a gym in there obviously, but the upstairs is all practitioners. You can do whatever you want up there. So renting out a small room just to do men's haircuts is just pay the rent.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, and like I have a really supportive employer that offered and encouraged me to do this, and it's what helped me make that transition when I was at my other job, right?
Yeah, we should mention he's a solid dude.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. He's a really anyone that wants to try their own business or try something or venture something, he's like, do it. I can help you, and like he doesn't expect anything from them other than to succeed at what they do, and don't be lazy.
Yep.
You know, like he takes a chance on somebody, and if they fail but work their ass off, he's very like, you know what, you really tried at this. This is how you learn. But if you don't put the work in, and it suffers, he's like, well, I offered you help.
Yeah, man. Like I gave you everything you wanted, and I offered you assistance, and you didn't take it up, and it failed. So what do you expect, right?
That also to me is like a really good motivator to know that someone's there that is like they really see that faith, or they see that they didn't go, you know, I don't really think this is your thing, you know, like you didn't talk me out of it. And you know what? In some cases, people probably do get talked out of it, but then maybe you realize later they were wrong, the person that talked. But I don't know. But
I think if you can get talked out of something, you weren't supposed to do it, or you weren't able to hack it.
Yeah, and maybe at that time in your life you should have known better, but you didn't. So years later you find out. That's trial and error, right?
Yep,
like
for sure.
I always joke that I'm a slow learner. You know, I figure out shit later than everyone else does, and it's like whatever. You know, like figuring out that kind of like taking that risk is a better choice than slaving away somewhere else where you don't think you're making any progress.
Look, man, do you want to be 85 years old wishing you changed, or do you want to be 35 years old in the middle of change?
Just glad that you did, that
you're changing.
Yeah, and I see that with a lot of other people, and then I feel hypocritical for bringing that up. And I'm like, do you want to be this way that you were for the last 10 years, or do you want to figure some shit out and stop caring about all the other shit that doesn't matter anymore?
No, for sure.
Like, I know there's lots of people that think that way.
Yeah, like, I mean, well, for sure, this year I decided we were going to do a lot more video production stuff. Like, in my mind, I was like, you know what, we're going to start doing a lot more, like, get the camera, do, like, decent production work. We have all the gear here. Why not? And then all of a sudden, it was one of those things where the second I started saying it to people, and it wasn't like a universe sent it to me, I just started mentioning to people we're doing it. Now we're getting phone calls saying, hey, man, I heard you're doing it. You want to do this? Hey, I heard you doing that. You want to do this with me over here? Do you have a drone? Do you have all this gear? Can you do it? I'm like, yeah, we have all that shit to go. So it's like the second you start, it's almost like it's not so much the universe hands it to you, or like, you know, you put good thoughts out, good thoughts come back. It's you just bullhorn that shit. Like, be a good person. Tell people you're being a good person and you're doing good shit, and they'll come to you.
And try to tell the truth as much as you can. You know, like, be honest, even if it's to a fault, because you have to learn from your mistakes. Because, like, you won't get to address those mistakes if you lie to cover your mistakes, right? And it's like, I had to learn that. I had to learn hard, and there's sometimes I still lie about shit. I'm like, fuck. Like, you don't feel good about it.
No, man. It's no good.
Like, yeah, it's just better. And you know what I noticed, too, is just, like I said, you see how people respond to what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it really says who they are as a person, and you're like, oh, okay, you know, and then, oh, look at that complete stranger, wow, how supportive. And then you have someone you think knows you really well, and they treat what you're doing as like, they feel slighted by it.
Yeah.
And it's super weird, because then I'm like, I'm not trying to make you upset. I think, like, one person actually thought, when I opened it up, that I was avoiding them as a client.
Oh, get out of town.
They were like, I don't know what I did to you, but, like, you keep blowing me off. And it's like our schedules just wouldn't match up, and I was just super busy.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I tried to use them as a hair model, and then I couldn't. And then I was going to use them as a hair model, and then I had to do the shop, where I did the shop, and then they're like, do you not want me to be a client of yours? And it's like, man, just so you know, that is definitely not something on my radar that you just brought up. I had no idea that, like you think that's so arrogant to think that anything I've done in my personal life has any reason to be connected to you is crazy.
No, that is crazy. Those are people with, like, their own issues, man. Not somebody with their own issues.
And I was like, no, I'd still be willing to do these situations, but my life is quite busy, and I didn't really think updating you was important. Yeah. Because you're like a third string person in my life, and I didn't even really update close. Well, and not to be negative, but, like, I didn't even really tell my mom I was going to do this until after it happened.
It's going to happen.
I didn't really have time to sit down with her and explain what I'm doing, you know?
No, it happens, man. I mean, life comes at you fast sometimes. Huh? I said life comes at you fast sometimes.
Dude, and I said that mushroom trip thing was like, while I was high in that mushroom trip, I thought about how, like, envisioning that my life, like, I have this idea that I need to plan to be ready because my life is going to go 80 miles an hour down a highway, and I'm black bagged in the back of a van, and I gotta learn how to run out of the vehicle when it kicks me out, right?
It's gonna happen, man. I mean, I think that's a good lesson for anybody, though. It's like if you're not lazy and you take the time to build like strong relationships with people who want to help you, and you don't think you're where you want to be, all of a sudden maybe you're gonna be moving faster than you expected, because like
yes, that's a great way to put it, and that's kind of how I looked at it. Is I saw like something's gonna happen, or I need to be ready for some sort of like. Being my age, it's going to be a lot harder to handle the no sleep or the whatever routines. Like when you're 20, you can grind through anything.
You can, but then there's
I got to be more like logical and planned out now.
For sure, but there's a flip side to that. There's a flip side to that whole idea too, right? If you're shitty and you don't treat people well, and then you don't make good relationships, and you try to succeed in whatever business you're doing, nobody's gonna fucking come to you. You know, and that's the opposite end. I think
on everything else.
That's what you kind of like, that one thing with the social media posts and whatnot, or people asking you like, how come you're not talking to me anymore? It's like, look, man, I'm making the connections and relationships that I need to make to succeed. And unfortunately, like, we haven't made that relationship.
Yeah.
And that's,
or like, just because you aren't like a necessity in my life doesn't mean you aren't a person in my life.
Exactly. Exactly. So. You're not hateful or spiteful.
But I that way, which is nice. I kind of said, like, it literally, that's not something you have to worry about.
Yeah.
The last 2 weeks have been pretty nuts, and you weren't on my radar, and it's definitely nothing personal.
It's
like,
nothing
personal. Okay, that's cool.
Well, they just need that. They need that pat in the back. They need their back rubbed. It's okay, Bubba.
It's okay, man. It's like, not you.
Don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
On my radar.
Handsome Dan the Barber. Evolve Strength and Fitness on the south side of Edmonton.
Yeah.
Got a cool-ass logo. You got a nice little space. Comic books all over the walls.
Yeah.
Photos will be up soon. I'll put links to all your shit in the description below this video.
Okay, sweet.
I think we blew this one out.
Damn, how many hours did we go?
We are 2:30, I think, right now.
Sorry,
2.5 hours. It's all good.
Yeah, but we had a real dark period there. I feel bad about that.
No, that's all right. I was kind of glad that a lot of times, like, if you're ranting on something, that means I don't have to do all the ranting, and usually I'm the ranty guy, so like it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't like doing that either. I don't want to take up all the air.
We are going to. The music's on. We're signing off. We'll keep talking. But music is on. We're signing off. BSFW. Do whatever you want. Like it, share it. I don't know. They'll keep doing that. But we'll keep going for a minute. But headphones off. We're done.